And tonight's starting pitcher for your Red Sox is number 20, Connor Irvine.
And coming to you live from Arnold Anderson Stadium in lovely Brantford, Ontario, it's a Friday night of IBL action here as the Brantford Red Sox take on the visiting Chatham-Kent Barnstormers in a match that is much bigger in stakes than it looks on the standings. This is what I'm excited for. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your busy Friday night to join us here. Marshall Crocker on the call once again here on Play-by-Play, and it's been a rotating kind of a rotation of voices here alongside me in the broadcast booth to start this season, but I got a gentleman I'm very excited about. Carlos Verde sitting to my left, making his debut today on color. Carlos, again, we just talked about it. This is one that I know it's two teams towards the bottom of the standings, both on respective losing streaks to very good baseball teams. But this is one that I think is going to mean a lot to both teams involved. And when you think about playoffs, this is one with some implications.
Yeah, it's one of those games that you're always excited to see, Marshall. Circled on the calendar for both of these teams coming into this ball game, and I'll tell you why. Chatham-Kent, 3 games in less than 72 hours this weekend, and who do they give the ball to tonight on the road here in Brantford? Mizuki Akatsuka, the switch-throwing Japanese right-hander, comes in. He is their best starting pitcher, statistically speaking. They're a little thin on pitching depth, and obviously manager Gil Rondon seeing this game as A, winnable, and B, the biggest game on the weekend. CK has Toronto at home tomorrow night, 7:05. Then they're back in Hamilton. So they got a 3-3, a true pro-style weekend, and they're going with their top lineup and their top dog on the mound. That tells you all you need to know about this one. Both teams fired up. Red Sox looking to snap a 5-game losing skid. And, of course, Chatham coming in here looking to make some noise and start their 3-3 weekend with a bang.
Well, it's much the opposite on the other side for Brantford. You talk about a 3-game road stint for the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. For Brantford, this is the start of 3 consecutive games this next 4 days of awesome IBL action here live from Arnold Anderson. We got that game that was rained out a few weeks back against Toronto. That's been rescheduled to this Tuesday night coming up, so I know you don't usually get Tuesday night action here on this channel. Get ready for that live starting at 7 p.m. I believe that game time's getting moved on Tuesday. But this is one you're giving your best shot if you're Chatham-Kent. Brantford's giving it right back. Connor Irvine, I know he isn't advertised typically as the ace for this rotation. I know Pedro de Los Santos has been, incredible. His first start of the year was electric, but Connor Irvine has been, an adequate matchup through the first couple innings of a game. The big thing today is going to be the X factors, and the first one I want to talk about today is a guy with a special story today, Tim Holick, who's been incredible for this Brantford team early on in the season. Talk a little bit about him because he's got an interesting wrinkle to tonight's action.
Absolutely, he does. The versatile Victoria, BC native has been Brantford's best bat out of the gate this season. 5-game hitting streak, during which he's put up a 357 clip. Team leading 3 homers, team leading 10 runs batted in to start the year, and the Cumberland grad is headed to the Frontier League, signed by the Ottawa Titans. He'll be heading up this weekend to join that professional ball club, so congratulations to Mr. Holick. He's been one of the best players in the IBL, and safe travels and happy trails. And to continued great hitting at the plate for the versatile man from the left side here with the Red Sox. Great story. And also another Ottawa Titans tie-in in this ball game.
Absolutely true. Let's move on to the Chatham-Kent player to watch here. Mitsuki Fukuda, the center. He's hitting in that all-important 3 spot today, and he is, as you talked about, former player of the Frontier League, former Ottawa Titan himself. Both hitting the exact same 357 average for both gentlemen. They're doing it in different ways. Fukuda kind of more of an all-around threat with the bat. Tim Holick's been a pure power guy, which is what this Brantford offense has needed. What they'll need tonight's a little bit of pop of Fukuda, and an offense that's had a little bit more action all the way around. Fukuda just a nice piece to add on to something that's already there.
Yeah, speaking with a few people around the IBL, one thing that's very clear when you hear about this Chatham-Kent team, they're not going to blow you out of the ballpark offensively, right? Strong is gone. They're not a team, despite their home field, that is going to hit you out of the ballpark. But what they do very well, as you'd expect a team managed by Gil Rondon to do, is they're going to grind pitchers. They're going to run up your pitch count. They got 7 guys in the starting 9 hitting over 300 entering play tonight. They're still searching for starting pitching, but a lot of people around the league saw their victory on Tuesday night as really a microcosm of what it's going to take for the Barnstormers to be better going forward and really try and push for the top half of the standings and that critical home field advantage that everyone talks so much about in the Inter-County League. So, contact team, but they're generally speaking going to win on pitching, defense, and quality at bats as opposed to the long ball.
Well, those bats are getting kicked off here. Top of the first inning. We'll get you started for tonight's action. On the mound today is going to be Connor Irvin, wearing 2-0 for the Brantford Red Sox. We talked about earlier that last start for him was truly impressive stuff. Great job keeping the ball in the zone, making hitters earn those walks.
Absolutely, and a real workhorse as well, has to be said. He put up 80-plus innings in each of his 3 seasons at Monticello, and that's exactly what the Red Sox need. You have Pedro De Los Santos. He's going to eat innings for you, but they need that number 2. They need that number 3 that's going to get them in good shape to innings 6, 7, 8, much the same as we've seen Chatham starter tonight do in each of his 3 appearances. Akatsuka, 3 outings, 7 innings each time. Brantford needs starters to go deep in games, and Irvin has proven that he can do that at the collegiate level, including this spring when he pitched 83 frames for Monticello.
Evan Morrison leading off today here, second baseman for the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers, and he was looking at 3 straight balls there. Cassidy Watt getting the call defensively at catcher today. He was having to work a little bit for those first couple catches, but Irvin finds the zone. 3-1 here to Morrison. That one a little bit inside, almost catches him on the hands, and that will be the walk. Took him, I believe, 4 or 5 innings for Connor Irvin's first start of the season to register a 4-ball walk. Does so here in the first batter of the day. Morrison will take his place on first, and it'll be Spencer Marcus, center fielder, coming up second for Chatham.
And new face I want to keep an eye on defensively for the Red Sox here at first base is Josiah Devapalan. Big stick, hit well in BP, was pretty impressive to watch him rip the ball down the left field line. Had a couple of at-bats as a pinch hitter on the road at a Rio Grande University. Looks like we're having a little conversation here.
And this is a very adjusted rotation. We're seeing, or a very adjusted defensive kind of positioning thing today for the Brantford Red Sox. A lot of guys that have been really steadfast in a certain position this year moving around. Tim Holick's been advertised as kind of a utility guy. He can really move anywhere. He's going to be playing left field today. Has been third base the rest of the season to this point. Ortega as well. He's been first base every start of the season. He'll start at third today. Schmarter will stick at shortstop, Bateman at second, and then your outfield's going to be Paulos and Tebbit. Tachioka not going to be taking the start today.
And how about Paulos having himself a nice season? Was under the Mendoza line last year, if I remember correctly, and has come out of the gate flying, putting together a real respectable hot start to the year, up over 400 for him, couple of walks and 15 at-bats. Gets a start today in center field, more importantly, in the leadoff spot under new interim manager Nick Burdett / designated hitter. Love to see that as a longtime follower of this league. Has to be said, you always love seeing familiar faces, and you always love seeing longtime players making that transition slowly but surely into a very comfy and very well-earned manager's chair.
And what we continue to kind of investigate here is they continue to talk over the umps in the outfield, still kind of figuring out the situation. Could be related to some of the field conditions we've had here. I know the smoke has been a big talking point with a lot of the local wildfires going on. So interesting with the sunset also could be playing a factor. There's a lot of different things today that are going to make this field interesting until we set a little bit later into the night. But talking a little bit about Nick Burdett, because that is a fascinating story. First game today as a player manager. Carlos, you've been around the sport for a long time. From both perspectives, what can that kind of add? A guy that's really in the trenches with you there, given the calls as manager, but also some of the deficits, because he's out there. He's one of the 9 batters out there today. He's got his own things to focus on. How tough is that to balance?
Well, he's a guy who's been doing it for over a decade in this league at a high level for the Brantford Red Sox. Obviously a big bat in the heart of this Brantford order for the, over a 10-year period. But it was interesting hanging around during batting practice today and just having a chance to chat with Nick. And it's very clear that there is a large amount of respect for him all around the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who's been around the block. He's hit in every park. He's hit in every situation. He's faced pretty much every returning starter in the league at least once or twice. And you can see, especially with the younger players on this Red Sox team, I don't want to call it deference because he's very much one of the guys down to earth, humble, no ego on him whatsoever. But a lot of respect in that clubhouse, and you would have to think that he's going to have the reins the rest of the way this season here in Brantford. And let's be honest, this is a Red Sox team that I think is much better than their 1-7
100%.
record indicates. And I can say that having watched this team all over the IBL the last couple of years, losing big in Toronto, losing oddly, narrowly in Barrie on a Sunday afternoon. And some of those 2-38, 8-34 teams were genuinely that bad on paper.
Yeah.
This Red Sox team is going to compete. They're going to be competitive throughout the season. And I still wouldn't put the playoffs out of question by any stretch.
Of course, that's why these games are going to be so important here for the Brantford Red Sox. You're only 2 games back of your opponent right now. You know, Chatham-Kent coming into today 3-5, Brantford 1-7, as that one will go for strike one, I should say. Spencer Marcus finds himself at an even 1-1 here. But really, that's going to be the thing, is these games now, well, it's close. You know, you're talking about empowering a team. You're currently, you know, in that last place position. You're 9th in the league as we see a quick pickoff attempt, but quickly back on base is Morrison. But you talk about these important games at the start of the year where you're still tangibly in the fight. You're only 1 game down on 8th. You're 2 games down on 7th. But if you go on a bit of a losing streak over this homestand, you could find yourself in 5 games' time, and that may not be so in grasp as that ball hit well. Schmarter, great play to second. Can he get the double? What a play! The Brantford defense we talked so much about all year. They've had great floor. They don't make mistakes. That was a great ceiling play on defense.
Yeah, that's a hard hit ball on a 1-hop. Great job by Schmerter drifting to his left, and really can't do much more if you're Spencer Marcus. I mean, he hit that ball well into a good spot. A lot of the time, that's getting through for a base hit, and your leadoff man standing on third base. It's a great play, great turn, and a little bit of life from the crowd here at Arnie as well. Nice breaker. How about that? Hello, Connor Irvin. How are you?
Connor Irvin, hello. We talked a little bit about his awesome pitch control here and his fairly high velocity that we've seen, at least in that first start of the year. But here we go, starting to see a little bit of movement on these pitches. And Natsuki Fukuda, you've talked about, he's a great hitter. He's probably seen mostly everything. You talk about his time in the Nicaraguan League there. I'm sure he's seen quite a few different pitches in his day.
Yeah, quite a few pitchers faced dating back to his time in the Frontier League. He was the backup catcher with the Ottawa Titans for a couple seasons and hitting in the 350 range for Gil Rondon's team.
That one struck. Finds the bat. Goes the wrong way. It's going to be a 1-2 here.
And you have to think for a lot of the imports kicking around the Intercounty League right now, that pathway is solidifying, right? That there's almost a direct bus route to the Ottawa Titans and Trois-Rivières-Aigle.
That one hitting about the same spot we saw last time. Schmarter, it'll go direct to him this time. Gets it to first. And making his debut today, Devapolan on first base. 2 textbook catches to end this first inning. Brantford, it was looking early on like Irvin maybe tested that 5-ball walk there to start off the game, but after that, the Brantford defense took over, and we find ourselves scoreless. Going to move on here to the Brantford side of the order. Flipping over here, Ethan Palos, you talked about leading off today, and I think what's been interesting, and it's good to see Nick Burdett kind of carrying that over. This Brantford team has really been performance oriented. They say, all right, if you go out there, you show us something. Forget sample size. If you're hitting well, you're going to the front. I think about Lucas Bateman, I talked about earlier. He's hit 1st, 3rd, 7th, and 9th at some point in this season. He's been up and down the lineup. Good to see Palos getting the call today.
Absolutely, and you like seeing that rewarded, right? He's a guy who's been around a little bit and plays solid defense, gets the job done in that 9-hole typically, and you know what? Why not reward him? He can move a little bit, and the reality is that there are some bats in this lineup, and this is probably the first time, and I'd say 4 years, possibly pre-pandemic, that teams genuinely have to be wary of the 3, 4, 5 of the Brantford Red Sox order. You know, you see, obviously, Tim Holick is going to be on the bus to Ottawa shortly, but Chris Ortega out of Tusculum, Cassidy Watt swings the bat well. Of course, Nick Burdett is always a power threat, right? This is a core now where you're starting to have to pick your pitches. And I'm really, really curious what Mizuki Akatsuka's approach is going to be. He's been pitching to contact so far this year. As a result, switch pitcher, he's been able to give Chatham pretty consistently 7 innings complete. Now, Brantford is going to see pitches. They're going to put the ball in play. They don't strike out a ton. I'm really curious to see what Akatsuka looks like. And boy, oh boy, what a career path on this guy.
Yeah. Man, primarily right-hitting offense here for Brantford. We'll see that again today, and you'll see where that switch pitching element comes into play. Haven't really seen that so far this season. And you talk about, again, these guys coming from different backgrounds, and that's what's so fun to see is these guys, they talk about this matchup here, Fukuda and Akatsuka. Good to see these connections being made between starting pitchers and catchers, and that's something Brantford, it was going to be an interesting element. A little bit of catcher substitution throughout the course of the year. They seem to have found a pretty good run of the way, and Cassidy Watt's been good. So we'll see what he can do when we come back up in the second. But here we go. Palos hitting 467 this year. Small sample size, but we will see if that call to put him first in the order gets this game kicked off with a bang.
And I will say Akatsuka must really love baseball to have played 2 years on the Empire State Grays travel team in the Frontier League. This is a man who genuinely cares about his craft and enjoys what he does. This man on the mound for Chatham.
That one will go in almost low, catches the bottom of the zone. 0-1 here. And talking about, you kind of work through a lot of situations. We talk again about the environmental factor today. Not too bad right now, but the warmest game I think this Brantford team has played at home this season. A little bit, it's out in the sky there. Visibility gets a little bit tough towards the edge of the outfield here live. So going to be an interesting factor to see how that dust and that smoke plays a factor today. And we had the, you weren't here, Carlos, first game of the year, first home game. The winds were so bad with the field conditions. We had some dirt cyclones, mini dust bowl happening in the third base area. Today we're facing something a little bit different. This Brantford team is never easy at home, never made easy. The 1-1. That one struck and chopped, finds its way just foul. Paolo's going to go 1-2 here.
It's interesting. You look at this Chatham team, and we talk about it. A lot of people expect them to win on pitching and defense, but the reality is they're still searching for starting pitching. Akatsuka with a rotation leading .557, which is middle of the pack. Brock Whitson sitting at a .623, and Christian Hauk, who was so good in Kitchener a few years ago, sitting in the ranks as well.
The 1-2. That one low, won't find the zone. Going to go at even 2 here for Akatsuka.
That's quite a take with 2 strikes.
A little bit. I was thinking the same thing. Sometimes you expect the home plate umpire to turn around, and you think you're on the same page. That time we were not. Akatsuka, the 2-2. That one right down Main Street. It's going to be chopped, but we'll send him back. Palos will take another crack at it. Found its way just foul on the bounce.
Yeah, good AB from Palos. Has seen a couple of pitches, fouled 2 off, and making Akatsuka work. Most importantly, as a leadoff man, if you can't get on, show the bench what they're about to see. You always want to see 5, 6, 7 pitches, and Palos has done his job here to start the night offensively for Brantford.
And what I want to see here is we get ready for 2-2. A lot of these things you talk about, not many strikeouts for this Brantford team, but a part of that is really hurting them in the pitch count against opposing pitchers. That one hit well. Second baseman can't make a play on it. First of the day. Palos will lead this game off with a nice hit right up the middle. Second baseman, narrowly a chance to get it, and it found its way to the center fielder for a single.
Yeah, Akatsuka's a guy we know is going to pitch to contact. That time he left the slider up in the zone on 2-2, just hung up a little bit. It almost looked like it surprised Palos. He wasn't expecting to see a pitch that middle on 2-2. Let's see what Chris Ortega can do here. Akatsuka, dating back to his time in the Nicaraguan Winter League with Tren de Aragua last year, he's going to allow the other team to put the ball in play. He's not a strikeout pitcher. Brantford should be able to put the ball in play tonight.
Ortega. That one low and in the dirt. It's going to go for the 1-0. And we talk about, I was just saying there with the strikeouts, so few for this Brantford Red Sox team, but part of the flip side of that has been their pitch count and opposing pitchers. They've had a rough time getting pitchers to come out early in games, and part of that just comes down to you're not squeezing everything out of every at-bat. Sometimes a 7-pitch single is worth a little bit more than the 4-pitch double in some cases. Like there are cases where you really want to make your mark there early, get the pitcher to work for it, and Palos did just that, then got the single.
And especially in a league like this where when you're seeing a team on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon and it's their second or third game of the weekend, you're not entirely sure what the back end of their bullpen's going to look like, especially a team like a Chatham, like a Barrie potentially.
That one struck very well into left field. Tracking it, is that going to find its way out? Gone! First of the season, Christian Ortega, how you like me now. First inning, 2 on base, and the Brantford Red Sox kick it off with some offensive action.
And how about this? Terry Smith's the first guy out of the dugout. And if you're a player, you're a fan, you're a sponsor, you got to love that. You have to love that the new owner in town is the first guy with a clap, a hey, how are you, atta babe, for Chris Ortega. No doubter. And if I'm Gil Rondon, I am concerned right now because Chatham's got 3 games in less than 72 hours.
Yep.
Akatsuka is the one starter that they've been able to rely on this year, and he's now thrown about 13 pitches, left some middle, including that last offering to Ortega, with nobody out. Chatham-Kent has to be concerned with Akatsuka's pitch count tonight because of what it's going to lead to later in the weekend for their bullpen. If they can't get 6 or 7 innings out of him, it could be a rough weekend for the Barnstormers.
And as you go 0-1 here, as Tim Holick will make his appearance today, and again, we've talked about his last game for the Brantford Red Sox here. Let's see if he can keep this offense going. The 0-1, right down Main Street again, going to go 0-2, but you're playing with fire here, and I think there could be a tendency for record watching. You see you got 3 games, you see a team that's 1-7. I hope Akatsuka's not getting caught sleeping here to start off this effort.
I think this is just who he is as a pitcher. It's in the zone. It's not overly dynamic. His breaking stuff isn't unbelievable, at least not from the right side that we've seen. Red Sox hitters have been all over it, but we've seen that as
Fukuda getting caught low there by that one.
Yeah, he's gonna need a second here, and umpire's gonna take his sweet time. This is the game within the game, right? Home plate needs a little work. I might need some new baseballs. Okay, you're good. Let's get back to it.
Interesting element I talked about last time we were back out with the Welland Jackfish. The Welland Jackfish really controlled the time. They controlled the pace. They had 9 timeouts called through the course of the game. Brantford not a single one. That may be an element some of these elite teams work on, and we'll see if that happens when Chatham-Kent comes back up.
It's veteran. It's veteran poise is what that comes down to.
That one again, these just hittable pitches. I mean, it's going to be one of those things tonight. If he keeps throwing that ball down Main Street, sometimes you can tell how a pitch is hit just by the sound. And a couple of these, you can hear they're making good contact.
And you can see Cassidy Watt is hopping in the on-deck circle. The bench is up for the Red Sox. They recognize there's a good crowd here tonight. The main grandstand's pretty full, and they've got an opportunity to make some noise here and make a statement tonight.
When there's smoke, there's fire, and I'm not just talking about the outfield, Carlos. I mean, we're a little bit worried about the field conditions behind, but these guys can see. This one's starting off hot. Guys are really able to get to Akatsuka, and if you're seeing this and you're going, man, I would have hit a couple of these by now. You're almost jealous there in the batter's circle. So the 1-2 here, still favorable count, and Tim Holick looking to keep himself in this one.
Good to see Chris Ortega stay hot. Fun little addition to the league as an import.
The 1-2, that one.
Akatsuka is playing with fire. He's thrown 3 fastballs belt high to the best power hitter on the Red Sox. And I don't know if it's a lack of a scouting report, a lack of command right now, but he's attacking these Red Sox hitters, but not in a smart way.
No better way to send these Red Sox fans home for his final game than with a big bomb to follow up Ortega's. 1-2, that one, good movement. That one came right back in and provided a little bit of movement, a little bit of break there, but he's still really testing these hitters. And you talked about it, Watt looked fired up, ready to go. Here he comes, only 1 out in the inning. So first strikeout of the day for Akatsuka. He'll now face the catcher, Cassidy Watt. Hitting only 125 this season, but a guy that provides a lot of value on the defensive side. He can make that value up elsewhere.
And you also know with him batting in that cleanup spot that there's an expectation that it's coming.
That one well hit. You just said it. Finds its way down in left field. He'll make the play on it, but holy cow, Haggith has had too much running to do in this inning defensively in the left field, and it's bitten him twice. That one going to get down for a single, and Watt is on the board.
Yeah, he had a good year last year. Good summer with Nanaimo out in the West Coast League. Hit .297, played excellent defense, and really didn't strike out a ton either. So Cassidy Watt, a guy that has a very disciplined plate approach. And now we're going to see Akatsuka head back to the left side. He's had 3 at-bats off. And you can't really, oh no, he's going to stay right here. He's going to stay right, which is interesting against Burdett.
That one going to go low for ball 1 for Burdett. Again, a guy that really makes you work for those strikeouts, work for those strikes. And here's something you don't see every day. The manager's out there hitting, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be confused. Nick Burdett's doing what many managers wish they could do and coming in to hit with runners in scoring position. A little bit of movement there on first base for Watt, but that want to go down for a strike.
Yeah, keep an eye on Watt. He had a little bit of a momentum vault type lead there. Might be wanting to just gauge whether or not Fukuda's willing to back pick. I don't think Watt's a huge threat to steal as the cleanup hitting catcher.
Some good agility out there, though, in the batter's circle, I got to say. That one struck. Is it going to find its way fair?
Foul.
Just foul by inches.
But
Nick Burdett almost made him pay again.
Again, Akatsuka has to get that ball down. Fukuda is set up low and inside. And for that pitch to end up middle in, he is exceptionally lucky that Nick Burdett did not put that onto the truck in right field for a 2-run shot.
Well, for those that don't see switch pitchers much, I mean, if he goes to reset, if he swaps around, starts throwing lefty, is that going to reset his location? Like, is he just sticking with what he's got while he's still on a batter?
And that's the question is, how valuable are you as a switch pitcher?
That one shot back again.
If you can't make that shift batter to batter, which is what we've typically seen. Remember, Pat Venditti was one of the first to do it at the professional level. He's been staying with the right ever since the Palos at bat. and he hasn't been locating it that well. Most of his warm-up pitches were left. Obviously, he's a professional. He's done this for years, but he's just not sharp tonight so far.
Reads to me as mental so far. Another bit more movement for Watt. That one popped up well. That won't find its way to the fence. Fielder under it will make the catch. Good movement there. A little bit of cardio for Oda out there on third base.
Yeah, nice play. Very difficult. That ball's obviously drifting back, but it's Chatham's first time here. You have the edge, the dangerous edge of the fence down the line as well. Oda did really well to kind of peel wide to take the fence out of play and then drift back towards the field side. That's textbook, and he covered a lot of ground to get there. That's an athletic third baseman.
Looks like we still got Burdett out here.
Oh, must have dropped in.
Looks like that ball wasn't caught. Again, so hard to see, not just for the fielders, but even for us here. It absolutely was. Fooled me. First day wearing glasses up here in the broadcast booth. Clearly the prescription's not good enough. Going to be a 1-2 here. Burdett hitting in a tough spot. That one, it's low. Does he go around?
Yeah, he
does. Going to get him for second K of the day. So that's what happens when you pound the zone here. 2 early strikeouts, Carlos. That's looking good on the box score, but you know you're not liking what you're seeing here so far, and I don't blame you.
Well, and we'll check his pitch count at the end of the inning here, but you can see Gil Rondon in the Chatham dugout. He's trying to get his boys going here. But the fact is Akatsuka's given up some serious contact here to start the ball game. Again, Chatham's got 3 games in less than a 72-hour period.
That one up and struck, going to find its way back into the first base area parking lot. It's almost a murderer's row out there. A number of cards that are just consistently getting whacked out there on the first baseline this season. Hoping that doesn't carry over to tonight. A lot of hitters, a lot of push hitters in this Brantford offense hitting a right that'll send foul balls pretty consistently in that direction. We'll see if Akatsuka can get some guys swinging here. And that one, well, he find his way back, gets back on base, but almost caught him sleeping there.
Yeah, I was waiting for the back pick from Fukuda because Watt's been doing all sorts of delayed, vaults, whatever you like. He's done it over the course of the last 2 hitters there at first base. Nice job by Fukuda, and again, there's a reason he's stuck in the Frontier League, and it's not as bad. He is a defensive catcher who handles pitchers extremely well.
That one, good movement. Starting to see it didn't find its way in the zone, but sometimes pitches are worth more than they appear on the box score.
Yeah, you change the eye level. He was trying to front door that for a strike, just missed downstairs, but starting to look a little bit sharper. That slider's got a little bit more bite to it now from that right side.
Lucas Bateman hitting .333 this year, 24 at-bats. 8 hits, good for 4 RBIs. That one fouled straight back into the netting. We talk again, making pitchers work, getting that pitch count high. Don't have the number on hand. It could be up towards the 20-25 range over this first inning.
Cassidy Watt getting a good sign from the third base coach. Very active over there for a cleanup hitting catcher. Has to be said, you almost wonder if he is going to test Fukuda here, or maybe try and put a little something on 2-2.
Well, he's keeping him distracted here. The 2-2 to Bateman. That one well struck, finds its way again over the right fielder. The blooper gets down, he'll take the sign around, and it's going to be Cassidy Watt finding his way on third after the single from Bateman. Single, home run, K-single, K-single. First inning of dreams here for the Brantford Red Sox. Reminded me of that Welland game where it looked good early, fell apart late. Let's turn around those fortunes today, Brantford.
And you can see Fukuda had a bit of a sharp word for his pitcher there after he'd come in to back up home on a potential throw from right. The reality is he missed there. He missed. Fukuda was set up down and away, and that pitch was middle in and fought off over the first baseman into right field for an opposite field single. Akatsuka's in a world of trouble here, and if you're Chatham, you got to be concerned. Again, just based on usage, just based on the lack of premium arms down there right now on that roster, this does not set them up well for the weekend.
Next up here, Graham Tebbett making his 8th at-bat of the season. He's been kind of a rotational outfielder there with Matt Torres in. Today he's going to get the call in right field. Watch that first one go by for a ball.
Another guy, holdover from the pre-ownership here in Brantford, along with, of course, Nick Burdett. And started as a pitcher, transitioned into a kind of a utility guy, and here he is batting today.
The 1-0. Good movement again. That one is going to clip the outside corner. I think that's where Fukuda had wanted the previous one on the last at-bat. Found it that time. And remember, Watt on third. Got Bateman on first. Runners on the corners. Akatsuka's got a lot to watch at his peripherals.
I know Bateman's not a threat to run, but I'd love to see them put something in play here. A little small ball, shoot something into the hole.
That one shot foul. Going to go 1-2, pardon me here.
Notice Akatsuda about 70% sliders the last couple
Yes.
at bats. He's locating it much better than his fastball, and Fukuda consequently changing up his game planning.
And interesting to see that. Very rarely, I think, do you find that the case that guys are, their movement pitches are more strong. Right? When we see the flip side of the inning here, when we move into the second, we're going to see Connor Irvin really rely on that fastball. If he gets bold, if he gets confident, he will try movement. But interesting to see the other way here from Akatsuka on the 1-2. That one struck out to that part of the parking lot I was talking about. That one's going to find its way right, and the count will remain 1-2 here.
Akatsuka reached back for that fastball, looking to put him away on the outside half, and that was an out pitch. He reached back for a couple extra on that one. So let's see. I would imagine we're going to see a front door slider. I think that's the call. Maybe in the dirt for a little chase, but I think that's where they're going to go here.
Guy looking to make his mark. Not many hitting stats so far for Graham Tebbett. Will he swing here? He will. Swings, Bateman goes, but it won't matter. 2 runs here in the bottom half of this first inning, and well, the offense left a couple runners on base there, but again, a team that's had some trouble really getting that engine pulled in the first couple innings today. Glad to see them starting off a little bit hot there.
Absolutely. Good start to the ball game for the Red Sox. I think you have to be happy if you're Nick Burdett, despite your own strikeout. The DH come manager tonight. Curious to see what Connor Irvin looks like second and possibly, hopefully, third time through the order. This is a CK team that'll put the ball in play, that'll work counts, hitting the contact. And Irvin's a guy who does not shy away from contact. So, especially second time through the order, once we get into the 4th, 5th inning, real curious to see what the new righty in the hot stirrups looks like for the Red Sox.
We will find out in just a few moments what Connor Irvin can do to start off the second inning, as we'll be right back on IBL Brantford Red Sox Baseball. We'll see you in just a few moments.
Is the first baseman number
Welcome back. Top of the second. We'll begin here in just a moment. We just talked about him, and Connor Irvin is been pretty steady to start off not only this game but this season. Now we'll face a new challenge with Timmy Wagner Jr. coming up, first baseman. First pitch. That one, a little bit of movement. Nice little slider. Catches the zone. Going to go 0-1.
That's a nice pitch to start it off, especially against a guy you haven't seen before. You're confident in your stuff. Establish it.
That one low and in the dirt. Irvin can't quite spot it up. Going to say didn't swing on that one. Even 1-1 count here.
Out of Wheaton College Lions in Norton, Mass. Utility player from Hingham.
That one low and in the dirt. Once again, having a little bit of trouble with that control finding the zone here. Both pitchers today, I know that close to the mound likely wouldn't be much of an issue with the smoke and the lack of visibility today, but going to be a consistent storyline to watch out for here.
Well, you talk about storylines. I think the big one for the Red Sox is the fact that their staff ERA is up over 6.
Yeah.
You know, they're 8th in the Intercounty League right now, and this team doesn't quite have enough pop top to bottom, or 1 through 6, let's say.
Yeah. Inside on the hands there. That'll be ball number 4. That'll be second walk of the day here early for Irvin.
They don't have the pop to get away with a team ERA at that mark, and I think everybody involved knows it. You know, Jeff Lounsbury's a veteran general manager, did some incredible things with the Brock Badgers in the collegiate loop here in Ontario. Put together a pretty good ball club with the Toronto Maple Leafs the last couple of years as well, and has brought in some great imports here, but the pitching simply has to be better.
Yoshinoda here, third baseman for the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. Righty-lefty matchup here. He'll face strike one to get this at-bat started. Irvin looking to work his way back into contention here in the zone.
Keep it on Wagner over there at first as well.
Oh, they're going to try him. You called it right there. A little bit of a leadoff. Making, Cassidy Watt, we saw that energy he had in the batter's circle. Keeping it going. He's been electric so far tonight.
Full credit to both guys we've seen tonight. Very active back there, very communicative. You love to see that from your catcher. And both of them younger guys. You're not talking about 32-year-old veterans here. Watt's obviously fresh out of the Western League last summer. And managing the game early is key.
As the 2-1 comes in, that one's swung on, chopped back. Going to go 2-2 here. Irvin in contention for his first K of the day.
That's a good spot to miss, though, right? Akatsuka's getting into trouble because his misses are middle in for strikes. That miss is in on the hands. You're not going to get hurt there typically.
We have seen some issues here as the 2-2 comes in. That one swung on. You just talk about it. Not a bad place to find a ball get in. The first baseman will advance there as he'll find his way to second. Well, Timmy Wagner. But no, you talk about it, and that is the one concern, though. I will flip back on that. Brantford has had a lot of HBPs early on in the season, particularly out of the bullpen, which we've talked about. Really the same issues causing a lot of hits late in games. That same location trouble is what's causing those HBPs. But I think a lot of the pitchers generally, as a staff, a little bit worried about getting it in on the hands so far to start the year.
Well, and the reality is that there are consequences, right? And we saw that with local boy Damian Clark getting released yesterday. Great guy. I know Damian quite well, and I know he loved this team. And just a couple of tough outings, one down in Welland, and the team made a decision yesterday. But it's always tough to see that. It's unfortunately part of the game at this level, but results-driven business, and there's obviously a new ethos here with the Red Sox.
That one low, just inside though. 1-1 count here to Braxton Haggith, the left fielder, making his first cuts of the day.
Love these Chatham jerseys. I mean, these got to be the best threads in the league. They have to be.
Such a unique bunch of, just branding in general for this Chatham-Kent team. So many cool logos, so much cool stuff, so much cool history as an entire team. As Irvin, he's on the mound, finally has a strike. Let's see if he can follow it up here. A little bit of movement defensively out there at shortstop. Schmarter trying to stay hot. Nice movement vertically there. Finds its way in. 1-2 count. Irvin. He is wheeling now.
And that starts so far off the plate to a lefty that your first instinct, if you're not looking breaking ball in the outer third, is to just give up on it. And that's what happened there. Falls in for a beautiful strike. Great pitch from Irvin.
Can he go back-to-back? The 1-2 here for Irvin. Haggith well swung on. That one going to find its way to the second baseman. Will get it off him. That'll stop the runner at third, but it'll be an easy stand-up single for Braxton Haggith.
Yeah, nice job by Bateman, though, keeping that ball. It took a weird hop on him, and he did well to keep it on the edge of the infield. Might have just saved a run there, and if they get out of this with an inning-ending double play, Irvin's going to have a word of thanks for Lucas Bateman on the jog in because he just prevented a run, at least temporarily, keeping that ball in the infield. That was a nice job by the second baseman.
Well, remember, bottom of the first two, Evan Morrison on second base for Chatham-Kent had two similar opportunities. Both went by him through the center field area. So sometimes those outfielders and the infielders, anybody defensively, I know sometimes it's not always flashy, but you can make full run impact, and those single runs can change a season. Is that one again? Nice vertical movement. Irvin's starting to find his confidence here a little bit with the breaking stuff.
Like to see him attacking the zone, both fastball and breaker, to righties and lefties. And that's, we talked about him being a new addition, obviously the rotation needing some work.
Ooh. Up high goes over him. Vasilenic here now. The shortstop standing in. Could have probably taken that one for an HBP, but makes the smart move when it gets up near your head. Just move out of the way.
Yeah, 90 feet's not that important. It really is. With that said, I do wonder where the pop's going to come from in this CK lineup. Because there's a lot of heavy-hitting teams. They play in a small ballpark.
That one up in the zone, but well swung. That's going to be a 2-1.
One thing that's interesting, short right field porch in Chatham. I believe Nick Burdett told me it was only about 270 down the lines there. No lefties in this lineup for Chatham.
Really?
Yeah, and that's interesting when you talk roster construction. The Toronto Maple Leafs at Christie, obviously short right field porch, had Jonathan Salazzo the last number of years. Loaded with some big-time lefties to try and rain balls down on the little leaguers playing on the next field over.
That's where your job as a GM is made particularly easy. When you have stuff like that, you just build a team to fit your park. That one's going to go 2-2, finds the zone. Irvin in play for his second of the day once again, but runners still on the corners.
Yeah, not many lefties in this Chatham lineup. We see one on deck, but interesting.
Yeah, Spencer Moore in there, the gentleman waiting for his opportunity here in just a moment. Wow, real good movement there. Doesn't find the zone, says the home plate umpire. I'm curious where he called that one. But a full count here. This is a big moment.
Big spot.
First important pitch of the day for Irvin.
Yeah.
Runners on the corners, Morin on deck. Vasilenic facing a full count. A little bit of noise here, the Brantford crowd getting into this one. The pitch. Good movement, but in the dirt. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded.
Yeah, they tried to front door that slide piece, and unfortunately just got a little too excited, spiked it. 8-9 hitters coming up, though. If Irvin can just bear down here, he should be able to get out of this, I would think.
You're a little worried, though, watching through the scoring so far. It was a ball to start off the game. It was a 4-ball walk. And then you had the ground double play that was very impressive there defensively behind him. Another quick ground out. But then ball, quick strike there, single ball. So it's that first inning, I think that awesome defensive play kind of masked what could have been particularly troublesome, especially with the 4, 5, 6 part of the lineup hitting so well here for Chatham-Kent. That first inning could have been more interesting. Spencer Morin here. Bases loaded situation. The 8-hitter, the right fielder, will face his first pitch of the day.
Yeah, walk's not a massive problem over his pretty consistent 3 seasons with Monticello out in Arkansas, 3 years in the GAC conference in NCAA baseball. 94 walks over 270 innings. Not
too
the
bad.
end of the world. Not the end of the world. A little high, right? Coming in around 3 per 9, but that's not going to kill you. That's not an outlier by any stretch. So you wonder maybe some start at home early in the career here with Brantford jitters, perhaps.
He's a guy who's strikeout upside as well, so often you can outweigh that with the Ks. That one going to be chopped back foul. 1-2 here. Irvin's got a good chance to start working his way out of this one.
Again, this is the part of the order that you want to see right now, right? 8-9. You've got a designated hitter at the bottom of the lineup, which is pretty atypical for this league. A lot of teams have a veteran big power bat that's kind of stashed in the 3, 4, 5 hole.
Kind of a second cleanup kind of situation, yeah.
Nick Burdett, Jordan Castaldo in Toronto, Ryan Rio and Barry.
The 1-2. That one well swung on. It's going to be chopped back, and again, just a little bit of contact, but nowhere near what we saw in that first inning from Akatsuka on the other way with Brantford. I mean, a couple of these are getting close, but nowhere near figuring out Irvin yet, at least not for any real contact.
Yeah, jury's definitely still out on, on the offense and the pitching for this CK team. Where's the pop going to come from? It's a big question.
Could see it right here, the 1-2. That one well hit to the second baseman. Another double play coming up here for Brantford. Yes, it is. To 2-1, back out first man. Terry Smith comes right out to congratulate his defense. You love to see it, and they're out of the second inning the same way they were out of the first. A nice double play fielding-wise from both Schmarter and Bateman, who are electric tonight.
And the thing that strikes me the most, this is my first time seeing the Red Sox, saw them several times in 23 and 24 in Toronto and Barrie, is they didn't get that ball last year with the bases loaded and 1 out. They'd give up a line drive that was muffed by the left fielder and rolled to the fence and cleared the bases. Or they got a weakly hit ground ball to the pitcher and it would be thrown over the first baseman's head and 2 runs would score.
Yeah, Holick, Palos, and Tebbett pretty much getting a night off so far defensively out there in the outfield.
Haven't seen a ball yet.
Much the opposite of this Chatham-Kent defense that was really tested in that first inning. Like a second pregame cardio there they got in that first inning of work. Akatsuka's back here, though, and he's pitching left. First thing I noticed.
Yes. Comes out hot, more lefty, and I think we're going to see him left-handed a little bit more just based on the fact that he just wasn't very sharp righty in that first inning. Now, where are we in the Brantford order here? We're looking at 7, 8, 9. If I'm him, I'd like to establish myself left-handed. There's a couple of lefties at the top of that lineup, Burdett, Paulos, obviously, and he got a better result against Paulos than he did on 2 of his subsequent 3 batters last inning. So if I'm Akatsuka, back to basics, get the left arm slot going. We'll see. Looks like he's going to start righty here, though. So now he's playing the matchup, whereas he only played the matchup about 50% of the time in that first inning.
And the interesting big picture question here for what your team culture is, what you do when you're in these situations. You're only down 2. It's only the second inning. But I think about more, organically, Brantford's entire season. And we've been in this situation. Those of you watching at home on the IBL Brantford Red Sox YouTube channel, you've seen your team pick up leads early on. And it's that 4th, 5th inning area that these offenses that are slow for good teams like the Welland Jackfish, who Brantford was up 2-0 against in that game they played against them. The good teams find a way to bring that momentum back. And we will see if Brantford can open this lead up more than they did in those games they didn't get the winning effort.
That's a nice slide piece right out of the gate. Front door establishes it. You can tell this is a guy who's been around professional baseball.
That's Max Schmarter out there. You saw that great defensive play in the first inning for the double play there. The shortstop, will he swing? He'll appeal, and he won't get the results he was looking for. Going to go down here early, 0-2. And again, we saw him warm up left. Akatsuka's back pitching right.
Mm-hmm. 2 great breaking pieces. One for a strike, one buried in the dirt right where you want it.
The 0-2. Schmarter looking to get on the board. That one finds the zone. 3 pitches, 3 strikes. Akatsuka's back, and that is strikeout number 3 on the day.
And that is a perfect pitch sequence. Perfect. You go front door slider, belt high, strike. In the dirt with the follow-up. Get him going, check swing, did he go, did he not go? And then you finish him off with his first fastball of the at-bat. Right on the black on the outer half. He's all messed up based on his eye level and seeing 2 breakers. Is Akatsuka back right now?
I think he might be. Back? That one will just miss the zone for a 1-0, and here's an international man of mystery, Mr. Josiah Devapalan. 2 at-bats to this point in the season, but you were pretty excited by what you saw in BP.
Mr. Worldwide.
That one hit well, straight to the shortstop, bobbles it, but makes the nice bare hand grab and a perfect throw to first base. That was a little bit of a polarized rep there at shortstop for Vasilinek, but he'll make the play.
Yeah, Vasilinek, veteran of the Summer League circuits, out of Lethbridge. Nice cannon across the diamond. Keep an eye on Devapalan, though. I think he's a guy who, when he makes contact, it's going to go far. Listed 6'1", 230. That might be a little generous. But, boy, he drives the ball. Fun watching him take BP earlier today, and that's a nice piece, even in a utility role for this Red Sox team. If he just provides a little bit of pop, you can pinch hit with him, you can DH with him, you can do a lot of things.
Back to the top of the order. Always nice as an offense when you get to hit in 2 straight innings, and Ethan Powell will do just that. Singled in the first inning. That .467 average is going to go up even further with that first single.
And notice here, Akatsuka is staying on the right side, so perhaps he's really only switching on an inning-by-inning basis because we saw him start left, go right, and stay right in the last inning, and he stayed right the whole way here.
He's definitely found his comfort location-wise. We can see that. That one straight out to third base to the hacky sack area, the entertainment here at Arnold Anderson Stadium. Remember, reverse tariff season here at the Brantford Red Sox Arnold Anderson Stadium. Free entry to all games this year. Some awesome festivities, some awesome stuff for the kids, and an entire new line of merch. A lot of the IBL organizations this year got some fun stuff going clothing-wise. The 0-2 will it find its way in? Fukuda knew right away, and that one is a three-strike strikeout there. Second one consecutively. Akatsuka's back. You called it.
He is back, and it starts with establishing that breaking ball for a strike and not missing. Look, he's missing bad with his fastball, and that's a veteran move as well. I'm assuming that Mitsuki Fukuda has the leverage to call his own game back there. I don't think CK is calling pitches from the dugout necessarily. I don't think there's a whole lot of advanced scouting that goes on at this early stage of the intercounty campaign. But for Fukuda to say, all right, you know what? You've been missing up. You've been missing out over the plate with your fastball. You've gotten hit hard a couple times. Let's establish that breaking ball. Let's throw it for a strike. Let's stay on one side. I think that's Mitsuki Fukuda being a vet back there, managing his pitcher well. And let's see what it looks like second time through the order, because for both Connor Irvin and Mizuki Akatsuka, both guys are now going to have to mix it up. Everyone's seen their fastball and, at the very least, their primary off-speed pitch. So what does it look like second time through? What does it look like third time through? These are the games within the game that make baseball so fascinating.
Well, we're going to go straight through here into the third inning. We'll stay with you. No need to take a break here. Lots of action. We got that little break pregame with the sun setting behind the trees here at Arnold Anderson. So we'll keep you going straight through here. We'll take a moment to look at this next part of the order. Is Christian Ortega, that big home run in the first inning, he's going to return here for his second effort. Want to remind you guys what we have to look forward to here. The Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube channel is going to be busy. This stream is going to be fun this weekend. Sunday, 2 o'clock, we got some afternoon action. It's going to be the London Majors coming to town to play their second effort, I should say, of the season against Brantford. And then on Tuesday, remember that's that reorganized game. It's that rainout from a few weeks back against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That'll be Tuesday night. I don't believe start time has been announced yet. It's going to be either 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Find out on the Brantford Red Sox different social media platforms. And Christian Ortega will be back at the bottom of the inning as just discussed. But for now, it's going to be Owen Constantiu, the DH, making the final appearance today in that Chatham-Kent lineup. He's hitting ninth. And he'll stare to no one here. Irvin, the 0-1. That one well swung on, well struck, but sent wide. Going to go back in that third base amusement area of the field. So the 0-2 here. Irvin looking for only strikeout 2 on the effort so far. Not bad through 2 innings, but Akatsuka was electric there in that previous inning. That one swung on. Strikeout number 2 today for Irvin. Didn't look particularly close. A little bit of contact there for the DH, but Irvin had that one scouted all the way, and that location from the second inning we worried about a little bit. Looks like he's bringing it right back like Akatsuka.
Really enjoying watching Cassidy Watt work here behind the plate. Calm, collected. The prevailing wind on framing, the prevailing thought on catch framing right now is this big pull. We're seeing it in the majors. Cassidy Watt.
Oh, a bunt here. We're going to go straight left. The pitcher decides not to make the play. Will he get there in time? He will. Though hobbling, though, is the third baseman. Down, and Cassidy Watt right over to check on his friends. That was a clever fielding play there. The pitcher decides to, Irvin just backs off, lets the third baseman take the angle on it. But he is in some serious discomfort right now. That's Ortega here.
And that would be a big loss. This looks serious. And you wonder if it was the throw. It was a little bit of an awkward leave from Irvin, but oh boy, and this is not something you want to see. Great play, getting that throw across the diamond. Looks like it's lower body by the look of things.
It's always those elite fielding plays. It's trying to elevate it a little bit higher with athleticism in those weird parts of the field there. I think he just kind of caught the edge of the mound. Great to see Terry Smith and the entire team right over to check on Ortega.
All that to say, Cassidy Watt, fun to watch. He's understated back there, and you know what? I'm a firm believer that umpires are more often than not going to have a better relationship with a catcher, invariably, when they feel like they're not getting ripped off, or they feel like the catcher's not trying to swindle them. And in this day and age, especially at some of the younger levels, you get JUCO baseball, 18U Elite, 18U AAA. You see these catchers with big exaggerated moves, and even if you do win a call or two, it's going to fundamentally change your relationship with the home plate umpire.
You'll send a couple back the other way. You'll send some good strikes.
And you'll lose
those
some.
ones on the edge. You'll lose. Yep. No, it's a great point, and Cassidy Watt is starting to find his own here as the defensive option for Brantford. We've talked about so much for Chatham-Kent, that pitcher-catcher relationship. You really want to establish that. In the playoffs, those little details are going to make all the difference, and Ortega still down in some discomfort. Terry Smith, the owner there, new owner of this Brantford Red Sox team, just as excited as he was on that home run there a few innings ago.
He's
there right beside him here as he sits down. This is a great showing. The trainer's out there, and
Speaking of great defensive catchers, there's a couple around this league, and the first one that comes to mind is Junior Ibarra, the Cuban on Kitchener. I mean, he's a guy who started for Sancti Spiritus in the Cuban National League, historic franchise, featured with the Cuban national team, and he literally is good for a half run every game. Just in the way he manages his pitching staff and how he manages his work behind the plate. It makes such a difference.
And it's awesome to see Ortega not only back up, not only a show of support from the fans out there, but I believe he's taken the waltz right back to the defensive third base position. That is great to see because, Carlos, you can speak to it. lower body injuries, as soon as you see somebody go down, it could be nothing, it could be everything. That is a dangerous part to be in some discomfort here in the middle of a baseball game, and you see him. He's trying to stretch out, trying to get loose there.
Big time, big time. Crazy on the out-of-town scoreboard. In the through 3 innings in Toronto, it's 6-6 between the Guelph Royals and the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is a classic inter-county Christie Pitts game if I've ever seen one. Good to see Connor Irvin, though, getting ahead of guys here early, pitching to contact, and good things are happening.
Irvin, that one right down the middle of the plate, but can't quite catch up to it here. That's going to be the 0-2.
One thing that scares me if I'm CK2 is that opposing pitchers aren't really scared of anyone in this lineup. And every team in the inter-county, if you look at the teams 1 through 6, let's say, 1 through 7 in the standings, everybody's got 2 or 3 dudes where you look at a guy in the lineup and you say, that's a guy.
Yeah.
And he can put a ball out in any situation.
That one, good movement, but clearly wide off the plate. I think in that position, it's just an out pitch. You know, you're up in a favorable pitcher's count, I should say. You're just trying to test them. And
go front door breaker.
Spencer Marcus looking at the 1-2. That one right down major. A little high, though.
Yeah, a little high.
We both thought that one was in, but 2-2. Spencer Marcus grounded into that double play in the first inning. Been in a similar pitch count before. We'll see what he does here at 2-2. That one well struck, bounced over the shortstop area. Schmarter, a nice little wax catch on it, but not in time as the throw. Great movement there from Spencer Marcus, keeping those wheels going.
Yeah, good pick as well over at first there by Devaplan, but that's a tough in-between hop. You know, that's always going to be tough for Schmarter. And you could argue that maybe Chris Ortega could have cut across the diamond there, but we also don't know what his mobility is, what kind of shape he's in right now. I'm curious if he's going to stay in the game. He's still feeling that out, whether it's a quad, possibly a knee. Looks like a knee situation.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Chris Ortega lifted from this ball game, just knowing the Red Sox that they've got another game coming.
No doubt, it's a great show for the team culture. It's a great show for team morale. Seeing a guy out there digging in, start of a 3-game cycle. You know you got baseball ahead this weekend, and if you're Ortega, some will question it. Some will say it's more of a hard overhead kind of thing. But I think it really does make a statement to this entire Brantford Red Sox roster.
He's clearly hurting though. It's every pitch, and his mobility's in trouble. I mean, you look at the options you have. Who else can play 3? Holick could probably go to 3.
You could rotate Holick, put one of the many outfielders out there, maybe bring Torres in back in the game.
Love to see that 2-0 breaker for a strike. That is a dude's pitch right there. I'm going to throw my breaker, knees down the middle, have at it.
Gutsy pitch as well on a 2-0 count. That time going to find its way in again. Good movement. You see a little bit of gesturing from Mitsuki Fukuda there. And again, he's faced quite a bit in this league and in other leagues. That one is going to go 3-1 though. Grounded out in the first inning. Did Fukuda. Our player to watch tonight. Looking at 3-1. Low and in the dirt. 3-2.
Great block by Watt. That was about a 57-foot slider. So you got the spins taken it one way. You're watching the ball as the catcher, but then as soon as it hits the dirt, it's going to change direction. And that actually kicked up off the front of home plate as well. Really nice job by Cassidy Watts, staying big, staying fairly upright, keeping that runner at first.
Again, talk about a little play that can make a whole run of difference. Movement there. Tried for the hit and run, didn't work. Fukuda will strike out again, who's our player to watch, but that offensive upside isn't quite shown up early on in this one. Grounds out, and then the strike here. Pardon my mistake there. That was a 3-2, another full count situation, but Irvin will get his second strikeout of the inning, and that'll be 3 in total for number 20.
How about Irvin going to the breaking ball down 2-0, and then at 3-2? You know, that is gutsy. That's gutsy. Throwing that for a strike twice to a guy. That's a guy. And I'm really curious to see now as we get into the middle innings of this ball game what this is going to look like. And for Chatham, where's the offense going to come from? You know, you're going to see, who do they got? They got Toronto at home tomorrow. You're probably going to see Josh Barenbaum. They've got some serious arms, and then of course London here on a Sunday. You're always going to see decent starting pitching from the London Majors. So pardon me, they're at Hamilton on Sunday. So guess what? Owen Boone and the Hamilton Cardinals are coming at you. There's some really good starting pitching in this league, and one thing I will say, when you look at both an order 1 through 9 and who teams are rolling out as kind of their 3-man rotation, let's call it, because you're basically running a college 3-man rotation in this league. There is still a significant difference, despite the changes in Toronto and Brantford and Kitchener. There's still a difference between the lineup that a Welland, a Hamilton, I'll still lump Barrie into that group despite their slow start. There's a difference between the lineups that those teams are rolling out, and especially the pitching those teams are rolling out relative to a Brantford, a Chatham, a Kitchener, Toronto on a Sunday when they've played 2 or 3 games in a row. There is still a bit of a difference there. Mm-hmm. And so for these teams, your best case is staying competitive. Your starter gives you 5 or 6 good innings and you're in a ball game, you know? But the fact is that there is still a difference in terms of the caliber of rosters right now in this league. It's changing quickly, but right now there is still a gap. And so if you're CK and you see Toronto and Hamilton coming down the chute with a little bit of travel on 2 of those 3 days this weekend, this is a tough series. A tough series weekend for them.
It absolutely is in the way Brantford started off here. There are no easy teams really in the entire IBL. You don't get a day off anymore with how this league is kind of built from both the bottom and the top has seemed to come down a little bit this year, other than Welland. And you may have seen a larger cheer support than you'd usually see for a walk-up batter on the home team today, and that's because Christian Ortega is back in the game. He's hitting here. He's got the pant leg rolled up, I think, a little bit on the left side there. Yeah. So it's clearly a lower left leg injury, but he's got the batting gloves on. He's looking at an 0-2 count here, and the crowd is going to go nuts here because, remember, homered in that first inning, had that moment there out in the field. Let's see what he can do, 0-2.
Yeah, Katsuka's done well to work ahead. Again, big shift. First inning, he was behind pretty much everybody. Now he's up 0-2.
He caught up to him in the first. Can he do it again in the third? Low and outside. Again, I think just one of those situations, Carlos. You got a guy, you got him backed into the corner. See if he can try something fun.
However, I'll say this. The last 2 times he bounced a breaking ball, he then left a fastball elevated in the zone that was hit hard. So let's see how he responds after bouncing that one on 0-2.
We know Ortega can time up that fastball. We saw it in the first inning. The 1-2. Low and outside again. You're calling it. I think once you lose that location, Carlos, it is not easy to get it right back.
Look, it's something that guys struggle with at every level, but that's a setup pitch. And we saw him bounce back from it well and K-Guys last inning. Here he's missed twice now.
Here's Ortega. The 2-2 working his way back in this count. That one sent straight up. That should stay fair. Under it is the first baseman. Wagner Jr. will make the catch. So Ortega, not quite the result he was looking for. You see a little bit of discomfort even just jogging back from the first baseline there. But the rotation seemed good. He seemed to have a little bit of pop, just didn't quite find his way to the barrel that time.
I'm excited for all my buddies up in Ottawa to see Holick play. That's exciting. That pipeline is there. We've seen guys go to Ottawa. We've seen guys come from Ottawa. And right now you got a former Titan catching and a future Titan hitting.
That one, not even a flinch there. I know that one was not quite up near the head area. It was on a couple Chatham-Kent batters earlier, but he just stood in and took that one for a ball. Tim Holick, his final appearance, putting his body on the line a little bit. Against a breaking pitch there. That one sent straight over. That'll come down to right field. Right fielder can't even make a play before it hits the fence. Holick's digging, he's hustling, and he is on second base. Oh, he's out. Unbelievable.
Could have slid.
He checked up.
Yeah.
He did not know where that ball was.
You know who did a great job selling that was the shortstop. The shortstop waited until the absolute last second to react to that ball. As a result, Holick thinks he's up with a stand-up double. And then at the last second, he's going, It was a great piece of hitting, though.
Yeah.
Takes a breaking ball, stays on it, and that's where you see some of that power. I mean, that ball finished well outside of the zone, down and away, and he drove that to the fence.
Yeah, if you're gonna push a ball, might as well put a little bit of spin on it. And that one, even once the right fielder had it tracked down, the bounce it took to put it on the fence, that should have been a single. He made it a double the way he got it off the bat. But right here, Cassidy Watt making his return. We talk about the catchers and their all-important offensive upside. Not the most we've seen from him so far this season in the big picture, but again, he singled in that first inning. Could be a good chance for a lot of Brantford guys to turn their seasons around. The 1-1. Finds its way to the corner. That one just in, and Akatsuka has got that bottom left side of the zone absolutely pinpointed right now.
Thanks to Dan Dominguez checking in, letting us know that Owen Boone is currently on the mound for Hamilton, so CK won't see him on Sunday.
That one catches the bat, so that'll stay.
Caught Fukuda, and that caught him.
Ooh.
That caught him up high.
We saw him in discomfort in the lower body area before. Now that one catches him up high.
Gil Rondon, the manager, is going to come out and check on him. And while he's out here, we have to mention Gilberto Rondon, the 72-year-old manager of this Barnstormers team. A walking legend, professional baseball.
Really cool.
You know, you look at the story, Houston Astros, Chicago White Sox, 1976, 1979, major leaguer. Also part of Puerto Rico's staff at the 2009 World Baseball Classic, Brooklyn, New York native. Real cool to see him back with Chatham-Kent after being their pitching coach last year. Tom Donnell doing a nice job putting together that staff this year.
That one fouled off to the third base area over to the amateur field on the right side of Arnold Anderson Stadium. That one going to go for a 1-2 here. Remember, 2 outs in the inning for Watt. You talk about a guy that, you know, has a little bit of gusto, has earned his reputation, and a guy that what he says means a little bit more. And if you're Fukuda and he had come over there and said, maybe sit this one out, you got a long weekend ahead of you. You got to think that's a man's opinion that you will respect. That one chopped over to the third base area. Should be an easy play. Watt, though, with the wheels, almost got there. But a nice play by Oda to record the out. That'll wrap up the third.
Speed demon catcher. You got to be careful.
A little bit, eh?
He forced a pick back earlier, hustled his way down on a ground ball to the left side. Cassidy Watt, no slouch for a cleanup hitting catcher.
Cassidy Watt, a man moving like he's ready for a marathon. We'll be back here in just a few moments from Arnold Anderson Stadium for the top of the fourth inning. In just a few moments, we'll see you here in a sec.
Hardline drive up the middle. Whoa! Lindor out of nowhere. How did he do that?
That Lindor can play. I don't know about that hair. And don't get me started on those gloves.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
It's time for a revolution. The Ref 1X by Rollins.
Get ready, Hamilton. It's the 2025 IBL Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. Hosted by the Hamilton Cardinals at beautiful Bernie Arbor Stadium. Watch the league's top sluggers crush moonshots in the Derby. Then see the best of the best go head-to-head under the lights in the All-Star Game. Grab your tickets now at HamiltonCardinals.com. Because this summer, the stars shine brightest in Hamilton.
One-way traffic, you know.
And welcome back to lovely Brantford, Ontario's Arnold Anderson Stadium for the 9th game of the Brantford Red Sox season here in their 4th home effort, taking on the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. You meet us back here at the top of the 4th as Tommy Wagner Jr., the first baseman, makes his second cuts of the day. Walked in the second inning and made some nice defensive, a couple little electric plays out there on the first base area.
Yeah, he's been busy defensively. Curious to see what Connor Irvin looks like here, second time through the heart of the CK order.
That one well struck straight upwards. Shouldn't come back if the wind doesn't pick it up. Well caught. Nice, easy play out there. It's going to be Devapalan making his first defensive appearance this season at first base. I think that was the first time he's really been tested. First time he's had to move, and he made a nice play.
He's had a couple nice picks over there. One that didn't beat the base runner, one that did. But Really curious to see what he looks like, especially if he's going to be an everyday player, because that's something he wasn't in his previous stint in the IBL. I believe with Hamilton and Welland, he got a couple games in with each back in 22. But he's a different player now coming out of Rio Grande. He's bounced around a bit collegiately. Really offers something unique that I don't think this team has in terms of a 1B that, you know, has the glove, can flash the leather, and can also drive the baseball.
A lot of utility guys getting the call to play first base so far throughout the year. Ortega, again, he's making the appearance today at third base and has made a huge impact offensively and defensively. And remember, Yoshinoda, he struck out in the first inning today. He's looking to get on the board for the Barnstormers. 2-1 here. Inside again on the hands. That'll go for ball 3.
And I will say, I don't think there's been any sort of hard contact off Connor Irvin here, and we're basically a time and a half through the CK order.
That wasn't contact there. Holy cow, what a swing.
Nobody's really been able to barrel him up so far. And it's not, I don't think his stuff is electric necessarily, but he's been better at pounding the zone second time through.
Full count here. That one's sent out. All the fielders have a chance at it. I think the center fielder, Palos, will defer. The play is actually going to be made there by the left fielder. That'll be Tim Holick making his final appearance here for the Brantford Red Sox. And he keeps this one to a 2-run lead. Could have come down for a double, but he'll find it in the bright lighting in the outfield here at Arnold.
Yeah, there was some rain on that ball by the time it came down, but nice to see a clean defensive outing as well, you know, from this Red Sox team so far.
Braxton Haggith, he singled in the second inning. He'll make his second appearance of this one. Got to step off, going to take a quick time here. And you talked about Connor Irvin, how much he's really limited real contact here. I mean, the only guy that we've seen really allowing barrels so far today was first inning Akatsuka, but he's not the same pitcher through 2 more innings.
No.
So I think both pitchers today, we could see some deep starting outings from both guys here tonight.
And I think you've now seen enough inter-county games this season. You've seen enough of a sample size. You know, the baseball in this league looks very different based on the starting pitcher.
Absolutely.
And you know, you can get games that run into that 4-hour, 4:20 mark very easily on a Sunday. However, on a Friday night when teams got their guys going in what they think is a winnable game,
right,
it can look like this: 2-0, 3-1 into the late innings.
Irvin, the 0-2, a little bit too wide to find strikeout number 4 tonight. They'll still sit at 3.
Yeah, that's a pitch where Watt was set up on the inner half. If he's set up outside and he's blocking out the ump's view, that might be a called strike. But again, you can't miss by half a plate and get a call typically.
Not even slightly. That one lined out. Can the center fielder Palos get a play on it? Absolutely can. That is the 4th inning defensively that Brantford has looked more or less impenetrable. They had the bases loaded there at one point in the second, but never really looked in doubt since then. The 2-0 lead remains coming into the bottom of the 4th.
Really interested in the CK team's lineup construction, because last year you obviously had, you know, arguably the best offensive player in the league. I think it's fair to say, and he's gone. He's gone to the ranks of professional baseball, which is where he should be. But there's no clear-cut player that you point to on this Barnstormers team and go, this is where they're going to replace all of those extra base hits. This is where those 18 home runs or whatever the exact number was, and I'll tell you momentarily. But I'm not sure where, you know, you talk about the movie Moneyball, right?
Yep.
We lost Jason Giambi. We lost Johnny Damon. How do we replace them? In the case of CK, Seth Strong was such a dude for them last year. 344, 16 homers, 37 RBI. The guy had 27 extra base hits in 42 games. He had 344. And I don't see anybody in the heart of this lineup that has the same hit profile as him. And he did it against good teams. He did it in the playoffs. Even when they got swept by Guelph, 14-0, he was 3 for 4 with 2 doubles. And I just look at this lineup as it's built right now, and I don't see it. I don't see the big bat through the heart of their lineup. Maybe they're going to prove me wrong in inning 5, 6, 7. It's very possible. But when you compare this CK lineup to Welland, Hamilton, Toronto has some serious bats. You know, I just think there's a gap there. And then the question is, if you're going to win games on pitching and defense, is their pitching good enough?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question here is player manager Nick Burdett will make his second cuts of the day. He struck out in the first inning. We'll talk more about it here in a moment, but the first pitch to Burdett.
That's a good spot to miss, though, right?
Yeah.
Instead of missing middle away to a guy who loves to drive the ball, you miss in on the hands and he can't do as much with it.
Here's the 0-1. Akatsuka still on the mound. That one a little bit too low. Going to go for ball one. But I like the interesting talking point there about the money ball lens and the way of looking at how do you replicate a great player like Seth Strong? How do you replicate their impact on the game? And you talk about the power implications. You talk about just what he could do with extra base hits. And the reality is, I think for a lot of coaches, you can only do so much when it comes to the power hit tool. You know, when you talk about a guy, what can he really do with the pop in his bat? Is that one going to be struck? Going to go more or less straight to the shortstop?
Yeah,
that'll be a pretty easy play on Burdett.
He was playing a heavy pull, right? Your shortstop is basically a half stride behind and to the right of second base. That's a no-doubter. You got a veteran designated hitter, loves to drive the ball. Your pitcher doesn't throw the ball overly hard, has been attacking him in and down as well. So you know that he's probably not going to fight one out to your regular shortstop spot.
Again, talking about that hit impact, though, I think the power can so often be a personnel thing, right? I think it's easy as a coach. You can teach discipline. You can teach hitting mentality. Is that one sent out to center field? Makes the nice play on it once again. Spencer Marcus there. That one never really in doubt. I think that just comes down to good conditioning, good speed there.
Yeah, great speed. Got a great jump on it. That's a play that I can guarantee you not every center fielder in this league makes. I've seen a lot of balls fall in. You go to enough games at Christie Pitts over the years, you see a lot of balls fall in, you know, and the reality is that he had a great break on that, and then he got up to top speed, and he stayed at top speed, and he made that look easier than other guys in this league might have.
Well, that was Lucas Bateman. He's come and gone quick, and it's Graham Tebbett making his appearance today. He grounded out in the first inning, and I'll watch that one go by. It's going to be strike one.
We saw Akatsuka really attack the bottom of this Brantford lineup with first pitch breaking balls, first pitch strikes generally. That's where he found his groove. He was struggling first time through the order. And
Tebbett, big swing on 0-1.
And it comes with strikes. It comes with getting ahead of guys. You know, first pitch strikes are everything. They keep pitch counts down. They keep the defense engaged. There's so much that going to 0-1 opens up for you.
And the advanced analytics echo just that. Another big swing there. Wow, quick three pitches, and when Akatsuka goes for a strikeout, he makes it quick. When guys can't catch up to his stuff, they really can't catch up. That was a quick bottom of the fourth there.
Well, and again, it's an identical pitch sequence to what we saw, I believe it was in, I believe it was in Schmarter's AB.
Yep.
So you go front door breaking ball, called strike, changes the guy's eye level, the ball has started at him, he's got some doubt. Then you go down in the dirt. It's a classic pitch sequence, right? Breaker, inner half. Breaker down in the dirt, try to get a guy to chase. Once you have him in 0-2, he's in a world of hurt. You introduce a fastball that he hasn't seen. His eye level has already changed twice in the AB. I mean, that's a well-called game by Fukuda, and obviously well executed as well from Akatsuka. Really, really impressed with the way he's bounced back, and regardless of whether or not CK wins tonight, if he can get them to that 7th inning mark, which he has in each of his first 3 starts, that is going to give them a better shot to win tomorrow and Sunday.
Well, as the YMCA sing-along kicks off here at Arnold Anderson, Irvine is holding steady there on the mound. We'll see him again quickly in the top of the 5th, and Akatsuka is on his way up. We thank you guys for tuning in with us, as always, here on a Friday night. We'll be back in just a few moments for the top of the 5th here on Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube.
Barnstormers, the shortstop, number 5, Torres.
And welcome back to the Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube channel. We thank you for tuning in here on a nice, cloudy, but nicely weathered Friday night here. Temperature somewhere in the late 10s, early 20s. And we swap the order over once again. Irvin back on the mound. First pitch swung on hard. I believe that is Torin Vasilinek, the shortstop, I believe, going to get his second appearance of the day. He walked in the first inning.
One thing I will say about this CK team is if they're going to have success, it's going to be grinding at bats. It's going to be forcing starters deep into ball games, forcing starters deeper into their arsenal, and that's something that they haven't done a ton of. We've started to see them put balls in play against Connor Irvin, but they haven't done a great job of really forcing him to dig deep other than that first inning when he walked 3.
Here's the 2-1 getting ready for Vasilinek. That one goes by in the dirt. So another less than favorable count here for Irvin. Finds himself in a 3-1 with Moore in the lefty on deck. 3-1. That one, it took a quick walk there. It looked Vasilinek seemed to know that one all the way. I don't think the home plate umpire was quite so in agreement, but he'll give it to him. Going to find his way to first base. Spencer Moore and number 25 will come up. And we'll take a quick moment here to look at the IBL standings widely around the league. We talked about it already. Brantford comes into tonight 1-7, Chatham-Kent 3-5, and the Barrie Bay Cats 2-6 in the middle. That's a weird story.
Yeah, I don't worry too much about Barrie. They have a veteran starting rotation of import guys who know what they're doing. That's a great pitch from Irvin to open up the at-bat on the outer half. Love to see that. They'll bounce back. They got their guys. They got Ryan Rio. I saw Brad Grieveson, who's like 49 years old, came out of the bullpen and threw 4 scoreless for them the other night in mop-up duty. That was hilarious to watch. But I don't worry about the Barrie Bay Cats. Josh Matlow is one of the most invested, owner slash GM slash head coach slash manager, whatever you want to call it.
Just personalities.
Yeah, he's one of the great guys in the league. He does a fantastic job. Barrie's roster is good. Make no mistake, they're good. And if they're still not good 2-3 weeks from now, rest assured, there will also probably be some changes, knowing Barrie and knowing what the expectation is there. But
but punt attempt, a little bit of gamesmanship happening here. A lot of movement there on first base. Vasilinek, a speed threat from the shortstop position.
Why not? If you're Chatham, you don't have the long ball threat, at least not yet tonight, halfway through the game. And Vasilinek has decided he's going to get loud, and he's thinking about it. Fake steal.
I think he might have had that one if he went for pay dirt, but he'll think better of it. And Irvin's shook right now.
How about Cassidy Watt with a long stare down to first base here? I would almost think about a pitch out here.
Yeah.
2-1, you got a pitch to play with.
That one. Right down the middle, but a little high, says the home plate umpire.
Yeah, that missed upstairs. Small strike zone.
3-1 here for Spencer Moore, and he's looking at an opportunity to put himself on first base to move up Vasilinek.
Always tougher to rip a back pick with that lefty hitter in the box, too, right? Cassidy Watt will love nothing more.
Got to take that big step out, and another one going to go by him. That's 8 balls and 10 pitches to start off the 5th inning. Runners on first and second. Here comes Owen Constantinu.
Looks like we might have movement down the line here. I think the Red Sox are about to get somebody up. Yeah, we're starting to see some movement, and looks like, is that Pedro De Los Santos getting loose down there? Big lefty in relief. Interesting.
On a 3-game homestand weekend, you got a game on Sunday, you got a game on Tuesday. Bringing a starting quality, arguably the ace in this rotation. You're bringing him in relief.
That is a fantastic pitch. Fantastic pitch. The CK hitter shows bunt, and he sticks with his plan. He doesn't suddenly bury a fastball or bury the slider that was called for. He throws it to the backside. I love that. One thing Connor Irvin not short on is confidence.
Yeah. And that's, I think, what this Brantford rotation needs more of. A guy that just can go out there. They want to play deep in the game. That bunt's going to go down well. Can he get it to first in time? Yes, he can. They'll at least get one, but the runner will advance. Vasilinek all the way to third base. Here comes Evan Morrison back to the top of the order.
Yeah, love Gil Rondon's team playing a little bit of small ball. Why not? They know what they are. And the other thing, to Rondon's credit down there in the first base box, he's animated right now. He's signaling to third base coach. I believe that's Dominard down there for CK. But he is animated. His guys are up. He's given them a chance to hit. A couple lefties here. And they're in this game. Infield in for Brantford. Interesting.
Very in. This is, I think, the biggest shift we've seen all game so far defensively. Still continue to see movement out there in the bullpen. Let's see what Irvin can do at 2-0. Nice movement there. Will find the zone. 2-1 there. He's starting to find his groove again. Runners still on second and third. Evan Morrison, he walked in the first, grounded out in the third. We'll see which of those two outcomes we see here at up 0-1.
Oof. One thing with the press box here is we do have a better view of home plate than pretty much anywhere else in the Inter-County League. And that did not miss by much to the outer staff.
It's a rough place to be on rain games. It's a great place to be on a nice weathered night here like it is in Brantford. On this lovely Friday evening, that one will come down and wide for 2-1 here against Morrison.
Awesome career path on Evan Morrison, too. He starts at Grand Valley State, which is, of course, just outside Detroit. Then he goes to McPherson College, finishes at Waterloo.
Struck well, left field. Can Holick get under it? Moving, doesn't get there in time. Over his head, one will score, two will score. Movement here, tries to go at second. Bit of a trip over the bag there for Morrison, and he'll hold it. But it's tied the game. 2 RBIs on the left field bloop over the head of Tim Holick. That's a double there for Evan Morrison.
And it's funny, it didn't feel like an overly hard hit ball.
Nope.
And yet that got to the fence. Full credit, Evan Morrison grinding a great at bat. Looks like we're going to have a pitching, or at least a mound visit here. And yeah, we got somebody up down there, and I think it was De Los Santos originally, which would be a very interesting decision for the Red Sox, given that he's typically been a starter. He's a guy we could spend a whole inning talking about. I mean, what a career in the Inter-County League that guy's had. But got to say, it's awesome to be down here in Brantford. Great setup, great broadcast partner, great production crew.
A lot of new faces, but we're loving what we're doing here. The team here that started off this Brantford Red Sox season, we're all believers. We believe what a lot of big minds around the IBL believe. We believe this is a 1-7 baseball team that should be a 5-4 baseball team. We've loved the baseball we've seen so far this year, and I'm very excited to see if it is De Los Santos warming up here. But interesting to see Irvin getting so much skepticism here early on. He's pitched generally well. Again, a guy that the box score would say has done well. But when this is becoming an interesting center field, that one sent high. Paulo's trying to track it down. That one is over his head. It'll find its way down, trying to find its way around to third. I think Marcus should get there in time. Slides in, gets the stop sign, and this is a 3-2 ball game. Nice little inning here for Chatham-Kent. They got a guy on third as well, and I think that may be all she wrote for Connor Irvin here.
Yeah, so we're third time through the order, and that's just a fastball that stayed. I don't know if he was trying to run it back in on the hands, but it ended up basically middle, and Spencer Marcus is having a whale of a year for the Barnstormers, building on last year, and, I mean, he just ripped one to the fence on about 2 hops, so that's going to do it. You know, Connor Irvin was solid tonight, and the line score is not going to show it, and it's unfortunate, but this is what happens when you're largely a 2-pitch guy. Your stuff isn't overly explosive necessarily, and you're going third time through the order against some decent CK hitters that can obviously barrel up a baseball every now and again.
And you could argue the blood had been in the water on that one for a while, because Spencer Marcus, the only reason he wasn't on base in the first was that awesome Schmarter double play that we started the game.
And that was hard hit. And that was hard
hit ball that should have single, maybe double potential the way it was tracking to the outfielders had it not gotten made by Schmarter. So that one could have been a single, had the single in the third, and then he explodes for the big triple there in the fifth. So Spencer Marcus, he's off to a good start here. He had Irvin figured out. Like you say, with the pitch count, you want a guy with a little more variety to give the batters something to look at through a couple of different innings.
We talked about CK starting Akatsuka tonight, and that being a signal of their intent in this baseball game. The Red Sox going to Pedro De Los Santos.
Yeah.
I mean, that is interesting in its own right. He's largely, correct me if I'm wrong, been starting. And for the duration of his career in the IBL, he's largely been a starter. Back to his Kitchener days. This is interesting. You know, this is a tight game, and this is obviously one the Red Sox feel, A, they're still in, and B, that it's worth bringing in this is a long reliever that can be a starter. He was the IBL Pitcher of the Week out of the gate. He's got wicked stuff, not overpowering, but he'll generally throw strikes. And they think this game's not over because they're bringing him in with a full workload, 3-4 innings expected.
Well, we don't need to convince you how big this game is from the Brantford perspective. They're showing you who they're putting out there on the mound. And I think it's an interesting implication you make there, a long reliever that can start. If he's not the ace starter for this rotation, I don't know what you got if you're Brantford. So thinking about him as a guy that if you're trying to protect him through the next 2 days, you're going to play him now. You're meaningfully looking to play him deep into the game. And we opened it up on the broadcast today. I presented one of my big concerns, if not the big concern for this team, is late game bullpens, that these leads are just disappearing when the 5th and 6th turns over. And I think the fact they're putting him in here says, all right, we're not going to mess around here. We don't want to give guys opportunities when we think this is a game that could have playoff implications. So it's exciting, and it's good that we're going to see De Los Santos here. And this is one that's going to sting if you can't cap it off at home if you're the Brantford Red Sox, because you're putting your best arms out there. You got to execute on offense.
Here's my question for you. And again, neutral observer. I write my weekly column for the league. I go to Christie Pitts more than any other inter-county park. I'll admit it. I live downtown Toronto. Who do you go to on Tuesday for that Leafs game here? We'll talk about it after this AB, but I'm curious your thoughts.
That one going to find its way down there for strike one. Good start for De Los Santos. Remember, his electric effort got him Pitcher of the Week in his first week of work. That was the second home game of the season, if memory serves. That one was against the...
Well-traveled. Toronto Maple Leafs, Kitchener Panthers, Brantford Red Sox, might have had a stop in London.
That one well swung on as well. Another piece of good inside movement. You didn't really see that from Irvine. The right-handed hitters have kind of had a night off with sweepers. That one going to find its way in on the hands.
Lefty out of Santo Domingo in La República Dominicana. Love to see it.
Fukuda, he is. Oh, got an opportunity there to go to first. Cassidy Watt, a little hesitation there, but he'll get it there in time. Fukuda's day that relatively promising. We said coming into this game, he was at 357. Ground out, strikeout against two different pitchers. Not starting off the way we hyped him up.
No, De Los Santos, what a career path. Comes through with the Dominican Republic traveling team, playing the Can-Am League clubs in 2017. Stuck here in Canada with the Maple Leafs in this league, then London.
Timmy Wagner Jr., that one's in on the hands once again. Another piece of movement. Oh, Cassidy Watt.
The signals were crossed up there.
Huh.
He was expecting something, and a different pitch came out. Trainer Rochelle Ramey out to check in on him, but they got their signals completely crossed there.
That's where these, again, we can't overstate the pitcher-catcher relationship. As Terry Smith right down to the bullpen to talk about potential replacement. Should we need another catcher? I don't know who's available here. Should we get a rotation? I know that has been a position that Brantford is, when they have a guy that he's right back up, Cassidy Watt. We've talked about how electric he's been tonight and how energetic he has shown to be. He's going to stay in there. But talking about Jeremy Veilleux and Noah Roberts, Jeremy Veilleux not getting the call tonight, but Veilleux's been a guy that hasn't been catching a lot because he is so versatile as a utility guy. He's played outfield a couple games. He's been all over the diamond. And Noah Roberts, we haven't seen much in this young season. So you always worry positions like that, not only that pitcher-catcher relationship, but a backup catch in the middle of a game. They have to warm up just as much as pitchers.
And Veilleux was one of the small bright spots, one of the few bright spots this year, or last year on this Brantford team. You know, hit the ball well, defended fairly well. Obviously, it was nice getting him back. I mean, that had to be a nice signing in the winter when fans and fellow teammates saw that. They must have been happy.
The 0-2 here, nice swing, but can't catch up to it. Pedro De Los Santos, 2 for 2 here in the top of the 5th. Strikes out Fukuda, strikes out Wagner, and he'll keep this lead to only 1. 3 allowed in the inning, but a 1-run lead is something Brantford can come back with the extra half inning in hand.
Pedro De Los Santos, a legend of the Inter-County League. I don't think he knew quite how many outs there were, because when the catcher threw down to first, he started walking over to the first baseman like he was expecting to get it back. But you know what? I'll tell you what, and I said it in one of my columns to start the year. if he can channel what he was in 2021, he had this one season pitching for London. It might have been their championship year. And I just remember his stat line off the top because it was so wildly different than what he was last year in Kitchener. That guy was 7-2 with a 219 earned run average. I mean, if he can be remotely close to that guy for the Red Sox, and then you got Nikolai Arbach. And let's get into this. So pitch planning now, right? Because this is the strategy. This is what's fascinating to me. So, Irvin is probably done for the week, you would think. De Los Santos, this is a 3-2 ball game. De Los Santos probably has this the rest of the way. You assume you're going to see him for 4 or 5. Now, you've got London here on Sunday, one of the best teams, one of the best hitting clubs in the league for sure. And then you've got a Toronto team that hits historically very well in this park as well coming into town. So what do you do? I assume we're going to see Nikolai Arbach probably for 5 or 6 in one of those games, but you've seen this Brantford team a lot. What do you think the pitching looks like for them over the next 2 games here on this homestand?
It's one of those interesting situations where there's so little proof of concept for what they're trying to do this season. They have the least obvious rotational consistency of any team so far in this young season. And I De Los Santos proving that more than ever. But I think the interesting question is, do you just punt on one of those 2 games? For me, it would be London. If you're asking me what I would do, I say take a swing. Let these guys that you're trying to give time in the middle of close ball games say, all right, this is your day. Do a bullpen game against London. Give it a shot. I mean, a guy like Aiden Armitage, give him some big innings in a big game against a big team. I trust his arm quite a bit.
Well, and he's been stretched out, I think, to 3 or 4 innings a few times, right?
Oh, that one bubbled by the third baseman. First hit of the inning. Not quite in time. Tried it. Almost got there.
Full credit, man. Oda with a great play, recovering. That's a tough play on his backhand.
Fans in attendance did not like that one there.
Neither did Schmarter. Are they saying he came off the bag?
I was going to say, I was wondering, the first baseman there, Wagner took a bit of a step off trying to catch up to that one. Yeah, Schmarter's still not entirely convinced. He's sitting out there. As Burdett will come out to talk it over. First appearance on field as manager.
Look at this. He's made that jog past first base many times. But now he comes out to argue, possibly for the first time in his budding managerial career. History tonight at Arnie. History.
I don't know about argue. Nick Burdett's a
pretty chill guy.
He's a kind
soul. He's a pretty chill guy.
Have a lively discussion. Bit of a dialogue here with the first base umpire.
Do you think he's the kind of guy that's capable of getting tossed? I don't know. I don't think so. He's been around this league a long time. I don't think he's ever been tossed.
You're a higher up with the IBL. You see a guy toss Nick Burdett, just take a look. Maybe a quick audit. Make sure we're all together. I really don't think he's the kind of guy that can.
He just got thrown out. After we spent 5 minutes talking about what a great guy Nick Burdett is, he's been ejected by the first base umpire.
That's the greatest commentator's jinx I've ever seen.
In his first game as interim manager.
Can you believe it?
And now he's going to give the home plate ump a word on the way by.
I mean, get your money's worth at this point, but that's unbelievable. Because what does this do when you're a player manager? Your lineup changes.
Well, first things first, before he exits the park, the Red Sox now need a new designated hitter.
And a new manager.
That is true.
What do you do?
That is true.
The question is former interim manager and GM Jeff Lounsbury, is he still in attendance?
He is here. He's in the ballpark.
I
believe he's next to us. I don't think Mr. Lounsbury is available tonight.
My goodness.
So
who's the next most veteran hitter on the team? Maybe we'll have a new face making a management appearance.
We will try and find out who the interim manager is.
Yes, second stage. Terry Smith's been out there involved on the field in this one. Wonder if his experience in the wide world of many different sports, maybe he'll take a crack at even just for morale.
Highly recommend the documentary of his Chester City English soccer experience, the original one. Fantastic.
So after a lot of discussion, that one will go down as a ground out for Schmarter, and really interesting series of events there. Burdett, for those of you just joining us, was just ejected. His debut as a player manager. A discussion about Schmarter's close out with Wagner potentially coming off the bag there for Schmarter's ground out. That resulted in him being thrown out. And now we see a 2-1.
Oh,
Make that a 2-2 count here against Josiah DeVapor.
that is a nice pitch from Mizuki Akatsuka. He's really settled in here, and you know what? Credit to him. He looks like he's well on his way to another 7 innings. And if you're CK and you're thin on pitching at this point of the season, that's what you need.
That one struck, chopped lightly though. These guys just having a hard time catching up. That one fielded easily. Wagner, no doubt about his foot on the bag that time, and DeVapor grounded out in the second. He'll do so again in the 5th.
Next for your Red Sox.
I'm really impressed with Akatsuka. The first time I've seen him in person today, and we discussed, not only is it a case of, it's often talked about in baseball, what do you do after a tough inning? You allow a few runs. How do you reset? But his jitters it was just pitching. It was his release. It was everything that he couldn't seem to get comfortable. And not only is he comfortable now, but he's confident again. It's like he's gone 3 games worth of confidence back in 4 innings.
You'll see this.
That one swung easily. Going to be, third baseman falls over trying to play it. Bizarre by a guy that's been so consistent there today defensively. He's had a couple bobbles. He's had to barehand again.
Yeah.
But that time, Oda just completely lost hands on it.
So, but going back to Akatsuka finding his stuff, that happens a lot. You see it in the majors all the time. This year with the Blue Jays, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios will have a tough first inning, give up 2, 3, maybe 4 runs, but then they've got a 7-8-9 or they've got an 8-9-1 in the second inning. They have the professionalism to reset. And we saw it. He threw a couple great breaking balls to Tebbett, forced a couple of quick outs. Oof. And in that second inning, he found himself. And he's been a different pitcher ever since. First pitch strikes, breaking balls for strikes. And it's that ability to reset that differentiates a true pro on the mound from a lot of college guys who get a little excited sometimes and have. You see it in junior college baseball. You see it in OUA baseball. See it all the time. Second game of doubleheader, guy loses his head, bounces it all over the place for 2, maybe 3+ innings, and he's chased after 9 or 10 runs. Akatsuka has done well to stay in this game and shut down Brantford.
Well, you talk about the storyline with Akatsuka, his comeback here. We talk about Nick Burdett's situation just now, but the third biggest storyline today, don't forget, Chris Ortega started today off with a home run, then had his situation defensively, was down for a while with some lower leg discomfort on the left leg. Now he's back in a 2-1 situation with a chance to a runner on first. He could get the offense back going again as commentators. Jinx goes the other way. Left field comes down, bounces, and I believe
that's going to score.
That should stay in. The run comes around to the plate. This is a tie ball game as the possibly the most unnecessary slide to home I've ever seen, but I love it. This team's feeling electric, and Ethan Palos finds his way home for a run.
If I had hair like that, I'd slide with my helmet off as well. It's not every day this man gets to lead off and score runs and do all the fun things. Why not?
You're not far off. A little bit of conditioner, you could get your hair flowing pretty good.
So that was a 2-1 breaking ball that caught too much of the plate from Akatsuka. And look, that's a great piece of hitting.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about guys moving, guys playing somewhere.
Yep.
Keep an eye on Chris Ortega because, and this is the danger in this league, is when you bring in legit imports that have aspirations, right? Unfortunately, sometimes you will lose them. This happens. But, man, Chris Ortega is a fun watch. Defensively, grinder. Offensively, puts a charge in baseballs. Looks like,
Tim Holick originally was the one to take time. Now we're seeing a quick discussion from pitcher and catcher. We've talked about Akatsuka and Fukuda's relationship and their ability in the pitcher-catcher defensive stance so far.
Looks like we got some movement in the CK bullpen. Somebody's stretching. Keep an eye on that up here.
Yeah, bottom of the 5th inning, a little bit of life from the Brantford offense here. This one, you have 4 innings left to go at the end of a game. You're tied up. It's a whole new dynamic. You worry less about distance. You just want the best arm in the best moment. Here comes that one right in on the hands. Never really looked like it was coming back. And again, this is Tim Holick, who, for the record, if we need a backup interim manager, would probably be my candidate. A guy
possibly.
A guy that knows the game quite well. Again, today, making his final appearance, and a guy that you got to think his teammates know. You got to think they're aware, and you got to think he's a guy coming in today with emotions. He wants something to happen.
And there's a little something going on here. I almost wonder if Akatsuka might have called out his catcher Fukuda to say, hey, careful with this guy. And you can see Holik's feeling good about himself. He's got the bat wiggle.
He's got a swagger.
He's got a swagger to him, and Akatsuka has stayed away from him. Front door breaking ball that missed, and then missed low there with another breaker. Pitching around possibly. Got him to chase on an outside fastball.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think swagger can often turn in. It's hard to keep that tempered because swagger doesn't often turn into good plate discipline, smart decisions. A lot of the time, it's just a guy going out there wanting to swing, wanting to make a guy pay. And that is, as you discussed, why those little quick visits to make sure you're on the same page can be so valuable. Make sure you don't give him anything unnecessarily easy like we saw a moment ago with Ortega.
This pitch will tell us if they are pitching around him.
Nope, that one to left field, it's going to go foul, but the entire dugout. There were about 7 guys in the span of a half second who were almost all the way to home plate celebrating that one. This Brantford Red Sox environment here at Arnold Anderson is electric tonight.
I think that ball landed in someone's second floor window. I mean, there's a neighborhood, and someone should let them, a little PSA, hey, Holik's hitting, heads up.
Between the ever-dangerous parking lot my car's currently parked in and the ever-dangerous window that ball may have hit, not a lot of grass tends to result, or, balls don't tend to find grass here when they don't find pay dirt at Arnold Anderson. It's an interesting field. That one sent straight back to the fence.
And that is a terrific pitch call from Fukuda. You've given him a couple front door breaking balls, tried the outside fastball, and then you elevate a fastball up around the eyes. That's a great pitch sequencing. Now let's see what happens. And Holik's giving him every little bat wiggle, hip wiggle. This is a great battle.
2-2 here. Some at-bats just feel bigger. That one struck straight up. It's a shame to end it this way. Second baseman's going to make a textbook play under it, and Holik is retired. And thus, so is the runner on third. A heartbreaking end to what could have been a promising explosion of offense like we saw in the first inning there, but the Brantford Red Sox have tied this one up.
Yeah, not a shame if you're Mizuki Akatsuka. That's a great out against the most dangerous hitter on the Brantford Red Sox, one of the most dangerous hitters in the league. Full credit to this guy. One thing I think that people, let's say casual fans of the Intercounty League maybe miss is that a line score is not everything.
No.
A guy's earned run average is not everything. On many, many nights in this league, especially when you get into the dog days of late July, early August, your ability to keep your team in a ball game as a starter is massive. And, you can have all of the import relievers and your Davey Mendez and Welland that's, didn't give up an earned run for a season and a half and all that. But it all counts for nothing if your starting pitcher falls apart at the first instance of trouble. And, we were the first ones to call out Mizuki Akatsuka for being a bit off tonight in the first inning. But, man, what I've seen from him the last 4 innings has been real impressive. You can tell this is a guy, he's not going to be phased in any environment he encounters in the Intercounty League. He was on a road team in the Frontier League for 2 years with decent numbers for being on a road team. He pitched in Nicaragua this winter. I guarantee you, no environment he sees in Hamilton or at Christie Pitts or here at the Arnie is going to phase him. Really impressive effort so far. Curious. He's definitely got 3 more outs in him because where are we in the Brantford order here? We're headed towards the bottom, correct? 4, 5, 6 coming up. I bet you they're going to try and stretch him 2 more. They'll try and get him to the 7th inning mark, which is where he's been. And if he can get through that 4, 5, 6, if he can get through Watt, Burdett, and Bateman.
Watt and we don't know who.
That
is 5. That's going to be the question mark.
Oh, that is true.
Right.
Watt and then whoever the new DH is, and Bateman. But regardless, you look at the middle of that order. Not a lot today. Couple singles.
Yeah.
It's been a good outing for CK's starter, and it bears mentioning. He's located both pitches very well, second and third time through the order. Just an impressive outing.
I mean, do you know who's been even more impressive in a small sample size? Extrapolating a man that would have 15 to 20 strikeouts in a full game at the pace he's gone. Pedro de los Santos, welcome back in your relief effort. He starts off the 6th with a holy cow, what a swing.
Reached back for it, the 36-year-old Dominican lefty, getting it done.
It's a high fence here behind home plate at Arnold Anderson, but if his shoes had come off, they may have cleared it. He absolutely flew the bat towards that one. Here comes the 0-2. And that was a try-it pitch. That was one.
I love it.
See what'll happen.
I love the pitch sequencing, right? You go a couple fastballs, let's bury a nice softie. And De Los Santos has one of those Chris Bassett-esque, 67, 68 mile an hour curves. He'll throw it too.
That one low in the dirt. This count's coming back to the hitter. That's Yushin Oda, the third baseman. He struck out in the second, flew out in the fourth. Even inning man now back in the sixth.
Looks like we're going to have some more action in the Brantford bullpen, though. Keep an eye. They've just sent somebody down.
I will question, for De Los Santos, what is coming in for, let's say, 2 innings? That one's going to be fouled right over to the third base area. This count's going to remain 2-2. But there's a question for you, Carlos. What does that do to you as a starter in your experience? You come in for 2 innings. I know that's not much. You're not wearing the arm out much. Maybe as a guy they think could play again Tuesday off only a couple innings?
Yeah, he definitely could. He's thrown on shorter notice before.
That was a nice strikeout there, up and high in the zone. It looked like a guy that he knew he was swinging. He didn't care what he saw as long as it was anywhere near the zone, and that'll be strikeout number 3 in a row.
But going back to De Los Santos, one, he's thrown on shorter notice before. He's been a workhorse in this league previously. But the other thing is the Inter-County League is not your traditional summer league 80-game schedule. It's not a professional it's not a professional league where you've got guys on a pretty standard 4 or 5 man rotation. Right. Even in college, you have a 3-man rotation. Generally, your Friday and Saturday guys know who they are. Sunday guy on a good team, usually you have a decent number 3. But in this league, it's a little different, and you get your innings where you can find them, even when you're a 36-year-old lefty who's played on 5 teams.
Pedro De Los Santos must be wearing a swing for the fences sign on his shirt. These guys are absolutely powering up these swings. Nobody has found pay dirt yet so far. The 0-2. Again, similar situation. In the dirt. He's going to say no swing. The crowd here in attendance disagreed.
I think that was Don Menard down the line, the CK third base coach. The ump checks down the line, and Don's going, no. I promise you he's looking at the other guy in black.
It's like the good old football DB. If you wave it off, it's not a catch. My favorite trope in all sports.
Yes.
Here comes De Los Santos, the 1-2. Catches the bat, is fouled off. It was close. And I think I'm really curious what we do here in the bullpen in the last couple innings. Because
what does it look like?
Well, because De Los Santos, at a certain point, you've only pitched about 14 pitches in this short inning. Until he starts having long at-bats, I say just ride the hot hand, see what he can do. That one is in too close on the batter. Did that not?
No, he checked his swing.
Looked like it almost caught him. This, by the way, is Braxton Haggith, the left fielder. He had a single in the second, flew out in the fourth. So 1-2 today. A little bit of noise now from the CK dugout out there. I think that boisterous atmosphere from the Brantford bench is starting to carry over. But I think we've talked a little bit about the idea of a consistent rotation not really being in the cards, not just for Brantford, but a lot of teams in the IBL. But I think that the word that comes to mind for me is continuity. And if you're a team like the Welland Jackfish, you're 7-0, you're undefeated on this young calendar, you deserve continuity because what you're doing is working. Your starters, until you have an injury, can stay the way they are. But a team like Brantford, shuffle the deck chairs a little bit. I agree with that element of don't fall into a rhythm until that pattern is working. Cassidy Watt couldn't quite catch up to that one, and this is going to be a full count here. Haggith back in it for a chance to make it 2-3 today.
Yeah, Haggith, a really interesting guy. He played in the West Coast League with Swift Current a couple years ago and has had very, very minimal reps at Minnesota State, which is a pretty legit program and a decent conference. Going to be curious to see what he does as an everyday guy with CK.
Wow, a little bit of displeasure there from De Los Santos, a guy that's usually pretty even to keel. Can be intense, but he doesn't usually show his disagreement. Yeah. Disagreed on that one. That's going to be ball 4.
I got to be honest. I've seen him and many other pitchers from his part of the world show a little bit of emotion, including teammates of mine when I was overseas. Not afraid to let the body language show. In fact, speaking of body language, very similar body to former Toronto Maple Leaf Angel Castro. Not back this year with the Leafs, but same kind of Bartolo Colon-esque, in your face, all arms and limbs, very expressive on the mound. And, You know, a guy I played with once in Spain, Nicaraguan guy, said you have to play this game with like reckless abandon, but you also have to play it with love and joy. And that's something that, you know, there's flair that's added to this league when you get Dominicans, couple Mexican players. There's been Panamanians in the past. And they do provide a little bit of flair, you know, a little bit of legitimacy, a little bit of joy every time they're at the ballpark. And I've loved watching Pedro de los Santos work for years. The results haven't always been there, but he's fun to watch.
As that one's fouled straight back, right in the netting for 2-1. One of our taller fans may have to climb the fence and bat that one off after the game. I'd imagine they will leave it for now, but that's a funny little moment here. And that's a great thing you discussed, the idea of different backgrounds and what it can do to a team culture. I think that's why the IBL, again, one of the longest tenured leagues in all of the world. And I think why it's a beautiful microcosm of Canada is that idea of not only are there people from different backgrounds and different teams, but there's no one mold. You know, your team culture in the IBL is what your players are. And I think that's why so much turnover, guys coming and going, like we've talked about with Tim Holick, and these guys coming in making a big impact right away. Well, if you're a big personality, if you're a big perspective, you bring something else from baseball. If you're a 35-year-old or a rookie coming over from Japan, you bring something new to the table in the locker room and on the field. That's why I love the IBL.
No doubt. And you only have to look as far as the Red Sox team on the field to see that. They've got some legitimate American imports this year that are driving the bus, that are reestablishing the culture.
Well hit. Ethan Paulos tracking this one over his head. He'll turn around on it and make the play. Paulos will retire the second out of the inning on a ball that was pretty well hit, but once it hit the air, it came down in a hurry.
Yeah, deepest part of the park, not a bad swing on it, and De Los Santos does have a tendency to leave the ball up in the zone on occasion. You may have noticed his earned run average certain years, you know. Yeah. But all that to say, this has turned into a terrific ball game. You know, both benches are up, 3-3, bottom 6. I mean, what more can you really ask for on a Friday night at the ballpark?
Well, there are some viewers that imagine on Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube out there going, well, we've seen this before. We've seen games like this, entertaining games, close games. Game against the undefeated Welland Jackfish was 2-2 into the late innings. That one exploded, and we're those that watch it at home are hoping we don't jinx it and hoping this turns out very differently than the other home games they've seen this season. That one's going to be fouled off to the first base line.
And, you know, the other thing that's nice to see is under the new ownership, you know, the reverse tariff season, there's a great crowd here tonight, but it's the effort. It's the off-field. It's the, you know, getting good people, getting good merch that people want to buy, that people want to rep around town. It's hiring good people.
Runner goes, moving his way to second. They tried the hit and run, and that one is going to be sent just foul. Almost got the location on it. Nice little chopped push ball there, but the lefty Morin just can't quite get that one in bounds.
Handles the bat well. We saw him bunt earlier, correct? Had the sack earlier on this evening, and you know, a guy that handles the bat extremely well.
He returns here, looking at a 1-2. De Los Santos chance for the 4th strikeout in 6 batters in his relief inning today. Let's see what he can do on 1-2. Inside, catches him. That one wasn't a check. That was a hit by pitch and in a 1-2 count. Not where you want to be taking a risk that far inside.
No, it's not. That just ran away from him. I don't think that was set up to be an inside fastball. That's tough. That's tough.
Designated hitter, number 27, Owen Constantino.
Owen Constantino going to come up here in just a moment.
And now we're in an identical situation to what we saw, was it last inning?
Yeah.
Last inning. First and second, although this time 2 out. Thankfully, De Los Santos did record a few, but CK threatening.
We've talked about CK's approach. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Get singles, have your base runners do something dynamic and hope it just adds up like a wave over time. But it was Spencer Marcus's triple that really broke that inning open there in the 5th that really got Chatham-Kent in a lead position there for a few moments in this ball game. So now 0-2 is Owen Constantino. He's struck out, sack bunt earlier on. I think if you're this Chatham-Kent offense, you need that pop once again. Guy on second, if you're only going to hit singles, is a long way from home. Fans in attendance thought that one was a strikeout, and I can't say I disagree.
Want to give a quick shout-out to all the Barnstormers fans watching on YouTube. Really appreciate the comments, and great to see an expansion franchise with such a passionate fan base. I'd also like to point out I'm from Toronto. I live around the corner from Christie Pitts, and I'm not affiliated with the Brantford Red Sox.
Oh! That is as late as a step out can get. Oh, my goodness.
Love to see it. Gamesmanship. Let's see what De Los Santos does here on 1-2. But full credit as well has to be given to Dom and the team that they've built down there. Bringing in veteran baseball people to manage both last year and this year. A first-rate program in this league, right? And I think you're going to see the standings reflect that because there's good people in place in Chatham. And great stadium. They just put in, I think, 500 new seats there this year. Really impressive what that org has done out of the gate.
Some claps from the crowd here. 1-2. Swing and a miss. Pedro De Los Santos. It was a strike late. Gave him a look on the way back to the bench. De Los Santos, he took exception like the fans did, and he got what was coming. Awesome job there by De Los Santos, striking him out, number 4 on the day.
He's got a little Bartolo Colon in him, skipping off the mound. Beautiful.
You made the comparison a couple times. I don't think there is a bigger compliment than a Bartolo Colon comparison. Maybe he should come in for Nick Burnett in this inning. See if we can get that iconic Colon
well, I'll tell you what.
home run.
I wish my U15 Toronto Playgrounds baseball team I coach could see the defense that's on display here tonight. Outfielders getting breaks on balls. Catchers back-picking runners. What a concept. Imagine trying to manage the run game. Imagine. These are the things I lose sleep over as a youth baseball coach. But all that to say, one thing I really enjoy about the Intercounty League now, even versus, 10, 15 years ago, is you are seeing more players from everywhere. But as opposed to just coming in, playing a season, playing 2 seasons, and then heading home, you're seeing guys put down roots. And that, I think, is special in some of these communities. Having the chance to interview Junior Ibarra for the league last week, I had a little profile story on him. I mean, that's a guy who's changed his life. Like, the opportunity that Mike Beamer and Kitchener and the Panthers gave him has changed his life. He's in the permanent residency process, as I believe a handful of players on both of these rosters are tonight. And he's actually in the process of trying to get his young family here out of Cuba. And I mean,
awesome.
You look at that, and you can call this league whatever you want. You can classify it as whatever you want. But the reality is that it's a great showcase for local players, and for some of the import players that come here, it really provides an opportunity to change your life. For some of these Japanese guys on Chatham, some of the Dominican players that have been on the Maple Leafs the last couple of years have found coaching gigs in Toronto,
right, and
are now staying in Toronto. That's something that's really special about this league, and an aspect that I think I really enjoy.
Yeah, you can never underestimate how many lives a sport like baseball can touch. Not just the IBL, but any league, and the implication that, you get tied to more than just a team, more than just a franchise. You get tied to an idea, to a community. And that's what's awesome about the fresh start we've kind of had here in Brantford in this young season, is so much history and so much new culture coming together. As that one is going to be low, but inside.
Look,
a little bit questionable, but the home plate umpire is going to give.
I love Mizuki Akatsuka's approach here. Just cool as a cucumber. When things were going south in the first inning, no emotion, and he's been really impressive here.
A little low there. It's going to go in for a 2-1, but
is it just mirrors the zone tightened up here a little bit?
Really feels like it. It does feel like the pitchers were kind of sitting pretty there in the second, third. They're coming back, and the batters are getting an opportunity to get back in this one. That's the 2-1. That one's going to be struck straight up again.
That could be trouble.
A bit of a confusion. Oh, cut that one in the chest.
Oh, sorry. The way he rounded first, I thought that might have dropped in.
He
caught it in his chest.
Cassidy Watt, man, gonna win the. We were sponsored by some sort of workout machine. He's the cardio man of the day here.
Okay, we got a pinch hitter here, obviously in place of Burdett.
Number 14 is going to make his appearance today. Double checking. Want to make sure we got the right guy on our lineup card. It's not a guy we have on our printed roster, but we will We will get back to you in just a moment. A lot of new faces here, as we saw with Tagashi pitching a few weeks ago.
And it's Tachioka at the plate.
Ren Tachioka, he's back. I was wondering. He's a guy that I think changed numbers early on in the season, but he's been great. I'll tell you right now, Carl, it's a guy in left field that in limited appearances through 2 games, he walked 4 times in 5 at-bats, and the other he had a single. Just talk about making Akatsuka's life a little bit tough. A guy that I think has gotten a little bit confident, a little bit in his stride. If you're a guy that just wants to break up that momentum with a long at-bat, Tachioka's your guy. Glad to see him back in the ballgame.
Yeah, Tachioka had a cup of coffee with the Ottawa Titans earlier this year. Former Southern Indiana Screaming Eagle had some good numbers there.
That one going to find its way in. Looked a little low, but it looked like it didn't quite drop enough. A 2-1 now here as Tachioka faces Akatsuka.
Interesting to see the quality of Japanese imports elevate this year in the league.
That one pushed wide, pushed foul. That's going to make it a 2-2 here. Tachioka very rarely swinging and getting big power. And when he hasn't quite kept it in the park so far this season. No extra base hits. The 2-2 here. No runners on base. Fresh start for Akatsuka. That one well struck. Not quite going to get down. The center fielder makes a nice play on it. And we talked about how much we didn't see guys like Spencer Marcus, like Braxton Hayeth, having to move those feet early on. Now that they've had, it's more than just the speed. It's moving right to the ball.
Yeah, it's that initial break. And the latest trend in Major League Baseball is talking about catch probability. And it's fascinating. I mean, we're never going to have those numbers in the Inter-County Baseball League, but Spencer Marcus getting some serious jumps in center field and making challenging balls look easy. And there's skill in that. You can totally see, though, with this Barnstormers team, speaking with a couple people around the league earlier this week, they said that Tuesday win, 4-2 win, that's how this team is going to have success, right? They're not going to win 19-10 slugfests. They're going to win playing fundamental baseball.
Oh, third baseman again, a little bit of discomfort. I can't believe Yoshinoda, it's that same hand. It's the grab to the right hand, and that's going to let a runner back on first. This time it's Lucas Bateman. It's the same it's the tiniest issue. It's bit him 3 times now for errors.
Your right fielder, number 28, Graham.
Well, now would be a nice time for him to get hot. It's been a bit of a tough day for him. Retired on 3 pitches last time out, and they went breaker in, breaker away, and then fastball elevated last time. We've seen that pitch sequence work well for them against the bottom of Brantford's order. I'm curious here, third time through, if they're going to go back to that against Tebe with the first pitch breaker. No, that's the pitch that finished him off in his second at bat.
Here's an interesting one for you. You got a ground out, you got a strike. If you're implying a batter has kind of figured out a starting pitcher, would you rather see that strike early, the ground out, at least you're catching up to it? The ground out early on and then just getting absolutely caught by 3 quick pitches for the strike. That gives me less confidence than the other way around.
You know, some people fall in love with the result of an at-bat. I think at a high level you have to focus on process because there's so much variability on outcomes, right? Like you can hit a line drive right at the shortstop, barreled it, hit it 97 miles an hour.
That one struck and blooped over. That one will find its way down to center field. He'll get the stop sign at second, will Lucas Bateman, so he'll hold it there. Runners on first and second, and Graham Tebbett, he's on the board. He's turned it around a little bit.
Yeah, that's not a bad pitch from Akatsuka. Tebbett just did a nice job throwing the bat head out, trailing it in the zone, getting to that low pitch, looked like an off-speed pitch.
So that's, I guess, right to your point there. He was 5 straight strikeouts against Akatsuka, but the one he caught up to, really good contact because he hadn't been too close. It is sometimes, I guess, just timing it up, just saying, all right, I know I'm close, finally finds it.
Yep. And the reality is that if you focus on the process over the result, obviously your process has to be good, and eventually the idea is the results will come. But you can't get frustrated based on 1K or based on one ground out because not sure where that missed, but regardless, a ground out can be a terrible decision. You can chase a first pitch breaking ball and ground out weakly to the pitcher, and that can be a worse at bat than a 5-pitch strikeout, right? So you know, I think you have to look at the process behind the result. And sometimes, again, in this league, you can't be overly focused on the line score or the statistics. Obviously, that's what drives Pitcher of the Week, Player of the Month, what have you, presented by HRD.
The superlatives, yeah.
But it's more about a guy's approach and what he makes the other team do from a pitch perspective, from a defensive perspective.
That one caught the ball, the bat a tad bit, but never really had a chance to barrel that one. This is Max Schmarter here, talking about a guy who's making a huge impact on the defensive side. A lot of wins above replacement coming in on the defensive end for him, but you talk about the offense, a strike, a ground out early on today, and if memory serves, he is hitting well below the Mendoza line.
And we talked about it off the top. There is a difference 6 through 9. Right, when you look at the standings, when you see Welland's lineup, when you see London's lineup.
That one swung on, going to try to leg it out, but never really in question. Runners stranded on first and second as we end the bottom of the 6th, an inning that's ended just as it was starting to get going.
And with that said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a defense first, glove first shortstop that bats 8th or 9th. I remember, speaking of the Frontier League, the Ottawa Champions won a league championship with a guy named Daniel Bick, and that guy hit maybe 230. But he had a great glove. He ran the bases exceptionally well. He was a good clubhouse leader, and you keep guys like that around, right? We're going back to De Los Santos here, so again, we go back to options, pitching-wise. What have you seen from Nikolai Arbach this year? 6'8" out of South Dakota, coming downhill at you. 2.75 ERA over 3 good starts for him out of the gate. What have you seen?
He's a guy that I think, you talk about ceiling. You talk about a guy that you project more. The GM, here's how I'll put it. I think the GM's more excited about him than the management staff is. And he's a guy, you talk about the raw measurables, a guy that, that upside, the pitch mix, he's a guy that's impressive to watch pregame. He comes right out and you're like, wow. The batters are going to have to find a way to catch up to him. But he's a guy that I want to see a little bit more consistency, but may benefit from a more predictable rotation like we talked about earlier.
So just checking a quick on YouTube here. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Guelph Royals are in the top of the 7th. We've tuned in here in the booth. It's 11-10 Leafs in the top of the 7th with the bases loaded, and former Red Sox Dustin Richardson just K'd somebody. The 7 Bushmen on the hill are having a great time. But that is just such a great night for IBL baseball. Should we take a gander at the out-of-town score?
Quick look around the league. You're a Toronto guy. That game, I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, either Guelph or London. But the 16-15 loss earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
They're no stranger to losing high-scoring games.
That happens at Christie Pitts. It's a very small ballpark. And I think everybody in the league, there's a couple. Kitchener's a bandbox.
Yeah, Jack Couch.
Chatham-Kent is great if you're a lefty. There's a couple ballparks where the ball flies. But I'll take a stab at the out-of-town scoreboard here.
All right, let's see what we got.
All right, Leafs are up 11-10 on Guelph. They just got out of a jam on the top of the 7th over down the highway 403. Is it 403 that takes us to Hamilton from here?
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
Down Highway 403, the Cards lead the Kitchener Panthers 5-4. They're in the top of the 7th. London and Barrie locked in a pitcher's duel, rare pitcher's duel. Bottom 9 in London, scoreless.
Bottom 9.
Teams have combined for 5 hits in 9 innings. That, my friend, that's a serious pitcher's duel.
Well, the Barrie Bay Cats, a fascinating 2-6 record and a positive run differential. They've allowed 37 runs coming into tonight. That's good for 4th in the IBL, and it's close between 2, 3, and 4. As here we'll see it's Evan Morrison's 4th appearance today. Walk, ground out, double is his day today. A very interesting 3 at-bats as he returns here at top of the 7th. That one struck and chopped just foul. Going to find its way to a 2-2 count here. Pedro De Los Santos making his 3rd inning appearance and relief in this one.
Absolutely hilarious pitching lines in that game. We'll get to it in a second.
As that one finds its way too low and in the dirt. Going to be a full count here as De Los Santos takes on the 2nd baseman Morrison. May need to throw in this out-of-town scoreboard, the Oilers-Panthers game here in hockey. That's the one I've had half an eye on. That one's going to be a walk. Morrison took advantage of the first real batters count that De Los Santos is allowed today.
So in London, scoreless. They're going to the top of the 10th in London. The two teams have 5 hits, 3 for Barrie, 2 for London. Frank Garces on the bump for the visiting Baycats. 8 complete, scattered 2 hits, struck out 10. Just another Friday night for Frank Garces. Victor Payano on the bump for London. He goes 6. 2 hits, 1 walk. They combined for 3 base runners.
I'm not personally familiar with the broadcast team out there covering that game, but I have them in my prayers because that's a rough one. I know the tension's a great thing, but
you're on a knife's edge. You're on a knife's edge.
Having a bit of a discussion here. De Los Santos.
As you would, though, right? I mean, they've just turned it over, correct?
Yep.
So Morrison reaches, and now you've got 2, 3, 4. We just saw Spencer Marcus hit a no-doubt triple.
And talked about that close double play there, that great play by Schmarter. He could be 3 for 3 today by just a couple inches.
But he's having a great year. You know, he's having a great year. This morning I was going over the stats on the league website, run fantastically well by a good friend of the broadcast, Neil Srivastava, who's currently calling the game down in Hamilton.
First pitch for De Los Santos. Spencer Marcus tried to take the bunt on that one. I love a good attempted bunt. Throw it up high. There's something about the bunt here in these situations. I know it's Chatham-Kent's kind of MO, but I like to see pitchers respond to that a little bit. That's got to be annoying when you get in a rhythm.
Good
attempted pickoff there. Nice check. Morrison was stepping off a little bit, but never really looked too aggressive on that one. He's all the way back to first base now.
Spencer Marcus was so good as a senior at Niagara. Like I've got his line up here, 329.
Swing and a miss for strike 2, 0-2 now here.
838 OPS after struggling for 2 years in kind of utility type roles. Man, as a senior, he just turned it on. And love that there's a place for a guy like that to play and excel and be a fan favorite.
Runner goes, first base. Gets there in time. Evan Morrison shows off the wheels just like he showed off the hit tool today. Remember, 2 walks for him on the day. I believe an earlier swiped bag as well. That might be 2 on the day for Morrison. 44's got some wheels, and now it's going to be Fukuda making his 4th appearance today. We talked about him player of the game coming into today. Almost a 400 average before this one. Ground out, strikeout today for Fukuda. Been a little disappointing, but he's got his 4th chance to make something happen. That one low and inside, but it's going to find its way to the zone, though. And I talked about that zone shrinking. Hasn't quite shrunk enough for that not to be a ball.
I do wonder if a guy like that would have some value to an indie ball team. Second half of the season, guys get banged up. He's got a good eye. He takes professional at-bats. He's not going to hit for power. He's not going to hit for a ton of contact at that next level, right? His numbers in Ottawa kind of speak for themselves, but he's very good in this league. He's excellent defensively, and you wonder if there's an indie ball team that might be interested, at a certain point.
1-1 here. Very far inside. De Los Santos, the horizontal's there. He's always in the zone. He's always in on the hands, just a tick above the knees. But he's having trouble finding that center zone in a way that Akatsuka, he can just pinpoint the edges.
And we talk about affiliated ball as this holy grail on this rung of baseball and in the Pecos League and in indie ball. And I'll finish my thought in a second here.
That one well struck out to left field. Tracking under it as Holek almost stumbles. Just barely misses the glove. Came down short of the wall. The runners will advance, but they will get the stop sign. So no runs will score. Tim Holek, you got to wonder that weird lighting spot where just before the fence you lose it. Not only did he lose the catch in the lights, but I think he lost it on the ground there. Got an extra inning out of that, or an extra base out of that one for Fukuda.
And now this is a big spot. And looks like we're going to have a mound visit here. We're going to chat about what they see or don't see with Chatham's cleanup hitter Wagner, but that was a good piece. And to my point earlier, there's only ever a couple degrees of separation. And Holek is going to be playing for the Ottawa Titans next week. Joe Oyama was just had his contract purchased by the Seattle Mariners from the Ottawa Titans. So he's going back to affiliated ball after 2 weeks of Frontier League action. So all that to say is that a guy like Holek has an opportunity there in Ottawa. He's going to get some at-bats. The rosters are fairly small. and he's going to have a real opportunity to do something this season. We hope and wish him all the best. Obviously, leaves a hole in the Red Sox lineup, and wow, this is a big spot to come into. So obviously, they do have plans for Pedro De Los Santos at some point in the next 3 days.
Well, De Los Santos will say goodbye for tonight. We talked about it a lot. We'll see if he makes another appearance in this 3-game homestand. More than likely would be Tuesday. But let's take a quick look here. We have a few moments to kill as a relief pitcher comes in and gets his first pitches of the night warmed up. Let's talk a little bit about the home run leaders in this league. And you talk about a guy that's made an impact, is moving on to the Frontier League. But Tim Holick, second in the league, finds himself there with 3 home runs. And if memory serves, a pair of London majors there after hhim. Multiple guys at 2 home runs apiece by at-bats. I believe it's Cardoso. And then Del Banning, yeah. Really interesting all around the league. A lot of guys, I think we would have talked about as having some power upside. Just having trouble with the long ball league-wide so far this year. And Tim Holick, even in a Brantford offense that hasn't had much to work with, one of 2 guys with 3 home runs to this point in the season, and you would believe it the way he approaches his power swings.
Absolutely. And again, we talk process over results. Some of the best home run hitters, look, there's guys that take big cuts. There's no doubt about it. There's guys that, they'll glory hunt, especially up 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. But there's a lot of guys in this league who've mastered the art of having a consistent approach. I was talking to Ryan DeSantos, fifth-year outfielder now on Toronto this past week. And he said it's just about finding barrels, and that regardless of where you're hitting in the lineup or the situation in the game, the best hitters are the guys who are able to remove that from the equation, right? If you're able to lock in and have the same approach, the same plate routine, the same swing thought, the same hitch every time you dig into the box, the same idea of what your ball flight should look like, that goes a long way. And from what I've seen, Holick's a guy who's very repeatable. He's not scared of anything he's seen in this league. He hasn't been thrown off by anything he's seen in this league. And I'm really curious and excited to watch him with Davide DeCipio on the call of Ottawa Titans games up there. I'll be following the next couple weeks as he makes his way into the Frontier League.
Timmy Wagner Jr., the highest leverage at-bat he's had today. Walk, pop-up, strike. And a foul ball will open up his at-bat, 0-1 here. Got a new pitcher making his appearance out of the bullpen. Once again, not on our listed roster, so we'll get an idea on our new face here for you in just a moment. But Wagner Jr. here, we talked about his versatility out there, doing great work on first base, really stretching out for those plays, making what could be errors into, here we go, to the plates. The wild pitch costs our new reliever here early on, and that is going to be a scored run for Mr. Evan Morrison. Remember, all the way back, he had that walk, turned it into a second base appearance with a steal, and now he comes all the way around in a wild pitch. That's why those little base running moments count.
Yeah, this is big righty Colby Klepper out of Edmonton, 24-year-old righty, stands 6'4", 215, out of a pretty good program over at North Dakota State University, of course, known for their great runs in March Madness a couple of years ago. Got a pretty good D1 FCS football team as well. And he's looking to extend his career this summer with the Red Sox. Big right-hander. Nice ad.
Big swing and a miss there for Wagner Jr. Enough speed there that one he just couldn't quite time up on the outside. Now going to be 0-2 here. Klepper, another guy we talk about with raw measurables. Brantford's, every time we get a new addition, it's one of these big right-handers that, if you can get kind of a pace established. And it's almost an interesting question of if you get these guys, as the 1-2 comes in here, that one going to be sent straight back, just clears the fencing here behind home plate. But it's one of those questions of if you have a lot of guys with similar approaches, we talk about Klepper, you talk about Arbach, do hitting lineups, if the starter is kind of looking like your relievers, very similar measurables, very similar approach, you almost wonder if that's almost a deficit to a certain roster. 1-2 here. Kicks and deals, swings and misses. That's going to be strikeout number 1 for the day for Mr. Colby Klepper, coming in relief here in the 7th.
And one thing I would say is, again, whatever your vision is of like a high leverage bullpen, heavy arm, heavy velo guy, there's there's only a handful of teams in the IBL that actually have that. I'd say that the pitching talent is, generally speaking, stacked at the front of the rotation, and you don't typically find that you have like an overpowering arm. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. You have Davey Mendez and Welland. Toronto had Franklin Hernandez a couple years ago out of the Brewers system. But generally speaking, teams are front-loaded with their pitching talent. Now, I don't know if the profile necessarily matters, because every guy's going to bring something different, right? You might have a 6'4" guy who's throwing a two-seam fastball, away to lefties like this at 84 miles an hour. And then you might have a different guy who's the same height, same projectability, and he's throwing a flat four-seamer with maybe a split change, and he's at 90, right? So body type, not quite something that matters. I think it's more the pitch mix more than anything else. Arm slot matters for some guys. Some guys have difficulty picking up certain slots.
That's what came to mind. Klepper pitched in a very similar way that I'm used to seeing Arbach.
Yeah.
Stands a little bit further, foot a little bit forward, that left foot. A little bit more back to the batter. Is this one on 1-2? Swing and a miss again. Welcome to Brantford, Colby Klepper. 2 batters, 2 strikeouts, and the 7th is going to go to the bottom with a tie ball game for the Brantford Red Sox, looking to get their 2nd win of the young season.
And yet he's not happy. He's not happy because he knows Pedro De Los Santos, and I'm sure he's going to check in with him. The 2 strikeouts are wonderful, but one of the 2 runs still cashed, and the Brantford Red Sox are still trailing. And that's one of those situations where, on paper, his line score looks fantastic tonight. But that one wild pitch, and it was a wild pitch, it wasn't a pass ball, potentially cost the Red Sox the game tonight, right? And so when we talk process results, when we talk about line scores not necessarily showing you everything, that's what I'm talking about, because he has 2/3 of an inning, 2 Ks, no hits, nobody on. But De Los Santos might get saddled with the loss in what was otherwise a pretty good performance because of his wild pitch. And I'm assuming this is going to be the last we will see of Mizuki Akatsuka, who has been nothing short of fantastic tonight.
It's time to announce the lucky winner of the 50-50.
Well, next up to bat, taking his cuts for the Red Sox, is going to be Josiah DeVapelin, a guy that, very interesting case here today. We talk about his potential upside here at the DH position. 2 groundouts today, hasn't really got his timing, and unfortunately with the lack of hits from this Brantford offense, only 2 appearances so far. He's a guy that's out here just to get experience, but these high leverage scenarios, this experience is almost worth 5 at-bats right now, especially as a guy, you're a power tool guy, but you need to be a contact tool. Just get yourself on base here and let the offense behind you through the top of the order. Paulos, Ortega, Holick. Let them send you home. Good energy from the crowd here as the 7th inning stretch commences. What a great night here at Arnold Anderson. Carlos, I'm glad for all the season we've had. We had a couple rain games. We had a couple drizzles in the middle of the 4th. Some of the very first game of the season was the aforementioned miniature Dust Bowl. I'm very glad you're here on such a nice night. Great attendance here. Fans sticking around here in this one. And I'm sure the 3-3 close game with Brantford just as in this one as Chatham-Kent. That's got to help.
Absolutely, and it has to be said, too, credit to the Barnstormers. They've actually traveled quite well here tonight as well. Quite a few fans down on the first base side bleachers. And they see ownership involved, too, here. Chatted with Dom before the game, and just a really fun, exciting time to be around the Intercounty League. Lots of clubs doing some really, really good things, and great night for baseball. Nothing beats it, Nothing beats a night like this. Good company, good ball, good crowd.
Oh, DeVapelin, a bit of a chopper there. I think we may have seen, if memory serves. No, don't believe this is a substitution for memory. It is a substitution. Brody Black, I believe, pinch hitting actually now for Josiah DeVapelin. Brody Black, a guy with a little bit more sample size here this year. He's been an almost everyday outfielder for the team. Big swing and a miss there, though. Brody Black could not quite time up Akatsuka. That's just as quick as he comes up, just as quick as he sits down. That's 3 quick strikes, and Akatsuka, if memory serves, that's going to go down as the 7th strikeout of the day for Akatsuka through 7 innings.
He's really settled in here, to his credit. What a career path on Brody Black out of Stouffville. Coppin went to Frontier Community College, transferred into Coppin State, which is, of course, D1, and then played in the MLB Draft League last year. Hit .288 over the course of 24 games. That's a fun little tidbit in there. I think it's technically classified as a summer league now.
Sure. Big swing and a miss there for Ethan Paulos. Center fielder had an error to get him on first base last time by, eventually scored.
Seeing a big resurgence, though, when it comes to Summer League baseball, not unlike the Inter-County League and its American counterparts, regional, amateur, semi-pro, summer collegiate woodbat leagues, independent leagues thriving as well, all related to the fact that Major League Baseball decided to shut down a couple of minor leagues. And that was, I believe, 2 years ago. Seeing a real resurgence in grassroots minor league baseball, which is great to see in some of these communities.
Swing and a miss. Paolo's going to be sat down just like Brody Black before him. Two outfielders not finding success there in the batter's circle. But you make a great point about, with these communities and these grassroots communities, getting baseball back, getting these higher level players. And I think for a true community environment that really supports grassroots, you don't entirely care about the team on the field. You do. You care about their success. But the individual players, sometimes it's more about the idea, about the culture than the individuals. But it's great to see talented guys coming back to communities like Brantford, like CK. That one sounded good off the bat, but will go foul.
Yep.
Good opportunity there for Christian Ortega here. Another got one of, feels like many talking points tonight.
I'm going to throw out a crazy idea here. Akatsuka. Actually, no, sorry. He's at 104 pitches. He's pretty much done after this. But
that one struck well, straight to the second baseman. Few bobbles from that position early on today. Morrison had some trouble catching up to a few, but not that one. That'll end the bottom of the 7th inning here. Sat down is going to be Christian Ortega, a gentleman who had a successful day so far today. Only a home run to the ball game for the Brantford Red Sox. And that'll end the 7th inning. We're going to send you away here for just a few moments on Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube, but it might be the final time of the game. We're going to be in for a good, solid little finish here. 4-3 currently is the lead for the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. We'll see you in just a few moments here from Arnold Anderson Stadium, live on YouTube.
Hard-line drive up the middle. Whoa! Lindor out of nowhere. How did he do that?
That Lindor can play. I don't know about that hair. And don't get me started on those gloves.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
It's time for a revolution. The Ref 1X by Ronald.
Get ready, Hamilton. It's the 2025 IBL Home Run Derby and All-Star Game. Hosted by the Hamilton Cardinals at beautiful Bernie Arbor Stadium. Watch the league's top sluggers crush moonshots in the Derby. Then see the best of the best go head-to-head under the lights in the All-Star Game. Grab your tickets now at HamiltonCardinals.com. Because this summer, the stars shine brightest in Hamilton.
And welcome to the Brantford Red Sox here live on IBL YouTube. We thank you for joining us once again here in the late stages of this action, the 9th game of the season for your Brantford Red Sox. The Chatham-Kent Barnstormers find themselves up 4-3 here in the later stages. The sun's gone down, the lights have come on, but the fans in attendance here at Arnold Anderson are still around. They're still enjoying some IBL baseball, and their Brantford Red Sox are still in this one. Colby Klepper back on the mound. Great start there. We saw the wild pitch in that inning that opened this lead up. But 2 strikeouts to end off the 7th. That one well hit to the left field line. Tim Holick had a bobble here earlier. Can he settle under this one? Yes, he can. Beautiful farewell to the Brantford Red Sox crowd. Makes a nice textbook play to keep this one to a 1-run lead.
that's about as hard as you can hit a ball and keep it in the ballpark. That's a great piece of hitting there, honestly. Just impressed, really impressed actually with Braxton's day today. He's been solid for CK. Good at bats. Like the vibe on the CK bench as well. You know, it's not like a star-studded, star-laden team, but they're picking each other up. They know it's a 3-3 weekend. They're energized. Everybody's up. Really, and I know I picked up on the same thing last year in Toronto. They came through the pits and their bullpen, it was good vibes, and they were interacting with fans on the road, and it's just an organization that's doing things the right way.
That one fouled back over the heads once again of this Brantford Red Sox crowd. And it's Torin Vasilenic making his fourth appearance today. 2 walks opened up his day. Then he flew out in the 6th. Back up here in the 8th. Nobody on base for him. 1 out already in the inning. An opportunity to provide a little bit of pop here. Spencer Morin is 0 for 2 today. And he would be the gentleman to come back up and try to send these guys into a stronger lead for this Brantford Red Sox offense to try to take down.
Yeah, interesting. You look at the line score right now. Chatham leading this one 4-3. Getting out hit 8-5, and they've committed the only error. But again, they don't ask how. Line scores don't matter. The only thing that matters, especially in a playoff, right on the playoff line matchup like this, is getting the win.
That one once again, just barely going to stay out. Now, Watt thought he might have a play on it. Hadn't made his way towards the CK dugout, but didn't quite get it to come down.
Couple kids racing over in oncoming traffic for that ball.
Looked like Cassidy Watt running to first base there. Those guys were hustling.
I think Watt might be even faster.
Oh, well, it'd be close. See the kids do the dizzy bat race. They may be disoriented, but boy, howdy, can they run.
Nice to see Ortega stay in the game, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the word of the day to come away from this game with is heart, for the Brantford Red Sox. Nick Burdett, first and foremost. Great that he took the responsibility to say, all right, I'm a team leader, going to rattle the cage a little bit. And, it had wide-ranging effects. That one was a ripple that maybe that middle of the order, you got to wonder what it would have been like had he been able to stay in. But it is one of those things that I think sometimes emotion, sometimes the intangibles can make more difference than it seems in the moment. And now we see a 2-2 here. Vasilenic sticking in this one. Colby Klepper, there's strikeout number 3. Great debut today for the Brantford Red Sox as one ship heads out. Another comes in out of the bullpen and does an exceptional job here through 2 innings.
Yeah, really, really curious, too, when you look at how he's going to be used, right? There are opportunities both at the back of this bullpen and in the rotation.
Yep.
What ends up happening here with Colby Klepper, pardon me. 6'4", 225. Looks like he was almost exclusively a reliever the last 2 years at Presbyterian and North Dakota State. Oh, Presbyterian in 2023. That's a fun school in the Big South.
I guess that's the question there, is the IBL and certain organizations, how open are some teams versus others, maybe based on ability? How much are they willing to let a reliever really come in and try to turn his career around? To me, the name that always comes to mind is in the MLB, Seth Lugo, and what he's done to kind of, at least the longer relievers that have the potential. What is different when you come out and you're meant to be the guy and have that 7-8 inning upside? An IBL franchise like Brantford might be one of the benefits to coming out here. Again, we talk about it's a team looking for high upside.
Blank slate.
New ball club. Maybe more opportunity there. Having trouble finding the zone here right now, though. That one will go in, but 2-1 here. Got himself in a late count against Vasilenic, but was able to bring it back in the last batter up. And Spencer Morin, we talked about a guy really looking to get in his groove here. He's had a rough day with the stick. The 2-1. That one fouled straight back once again. Keeps the at-bat going.
Yeah, a little survival swing on an outside fastball.
The question is, does Klepper have 9th inning upside? I mean, we've seen his ability. He doesn't look too winded right now. And this Brantford Red Sox rotation, do you want to save your top bullpen guys? Do you want to save an Armitage for a game like tomorrow or Sunday night against London? The 2-2. That one's popped up, just going to find its way out. The crowd in attendance, a couple kids going to track that one down as well. The ball boy going to bring out a replacement.
I think Ortega's lost a button on his jersey about every inning.
That's a great point.
He's coming from down south, call him Big Country, and he's about 6 buttons down here in the top of the 8th.
Lost a pant leg there, don't forget, too, with that early trip, and scary moment for him. That one going to go outside for Klepper.
How about this for a good battling AB from Morin, though? You talked about a guy looking to turn things around. He's up on that bat. Fundamentally, this is a very good CK team. You can tell they're well coached. Gil Rondon has them doing the right things, you know, the little things well. And Morin's really stretched this out.
Full count here. The Brantford fans on their seats and out of their seats. Swing and a miss. Colby Klepper. Do you get 2 better innings of relief work in your debut? Awesome to see him coming out and making an impact and keeping that lead to 1 as the Brantford Red Sox. I know we've had a couple situations, I've talked about it, that's been the story. Late in games, that can go away, they can be a very momentum-based team in the negative direction, but this feels different. This is a closer gap. It's a team that doesn't have that big upside late offensively that a team like Welland did. Welland, you knew, all right, once they get it going, that could be a lot of extra base hits quick. Chatham-Kent, that 1 run that's a big run.
New righty into the ball game. We're going to get it for you in just a moment here.
That is correct. Thank you for playing.
And how about this final line score on the day for Mizuki Akatsuka? I mean, that is a serious day of work. 7 innings, scattering 8, allowing 3, just 2 earned, no walks, not a 1.
Wow.
And 9 strikeouts. He grew into this game today, and man, he's given this Barnstormers team some length when they needed it. We talked about a 3-3 weekend. This is challenging, especially for a team that is a little bit thin on, you know, starting pitching especially. Let's see what this bullpen looks like. They've got 6 outs. It is a 1-run game, and we know anything's possible in the intercounty. Literally anything.
I think this is one the offense is going to be looking back in a couple days' time on that 3-game road trip you talked about and thinking, man, I'm glad Akatsuka had such a good game on Friday night. That's one where I think if you're an offense that puts up 4 runs, you say they've been out hit 8-5. Not like they've exactly put much up there on the board, but when you're a guy after that first inning of struggle, they really did, should have felt pretty secure. Where he was pitching the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, he was lights out with the strikeouts, and then that pitch to contact just never got caught up to. So you talk about a night where a night that if they didn't have it, this could be a 7-4 ball game, an 8-4 ball game, or that Toronto contest going on over there. What is that game up to? 13-12 right now.
So Aiden Ryan's into the ball game, big righty out of St. Clair College. Had a good year last year out of the pen for him. 432 earned run average, over 38 innings of work. Was actually named an Intercounty All-Star. And went to Welland representing the Barnstormers.
The 2025 rendition of the All-Star Game is coming up soon. That's going to be in Hamilton in just a couple weeks' time. You've been around the league a while, Carlos. You're pretty excited? The Hamilton facility getting to host the All-Star this year?
Yeah, it's well-deserved. You know, what Eric Spearin and company have been able to accomplish there with the Cardinals and really reviving a historic franchise is nothing short of impressive. I'll personally be in Portugal on vacation, but that's going to be a great event. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the social content, guys from different teams coming together.
Tim Holick, heartbreakingly straight up, straight down. Never really a doubt for the shortstop there.
So a quick look now at Ryan's numbers. Oh, he's got his birthday coming up shortly. He's 23 at the moment. But good numbers, 225 earned run average this year over 3 appearances, including a start. Has scattered 13 hits over 8 innings of work, 9 strikeouts to 4 walks. So he's a guy who definitely pitches to contact, which is what you'd expect for a guy coming out of the OCAA. But some good stuff.
Big swing and a miss there. Got Cassidy Watt fooled. He's going to go down 0-1 here. Remember, he started the day with a single in that big first inning. They got Brantford up 2-0. Since then, nada.
And another thing I'll mention about this league is you can't fall in love with a guy's bio because...
There you go, strike 2, right down Main Street.
Where a guy came from does not necessarily equal the level of health you're getting from a player, the level of commitment from when he was in the low minors or in college. And the other reality is that there's good college ball everywhere.
0-2, Watt keeps it alive. He'll foul that one off to the third base area. Cassidy Watt, a guy we talk about the power upside among everything, and he is still hobbling a bit. He's a gentleman that's had some adversity there conditioning-wise.
And our home plate umpire is taking his sweet time. He's going to make sure the plate is twice dusted before getting back behind home plate. Watt's shaking out that left leg, and he's also caught 8 innings as well. Been busy. Couple pickbacks, couple runners in motion because the Barnstormers play a fun brand of baseball. They put runners in motion. They bunt. They make the catcher move.
That one, they're not going to give it to him. That one's going to stay wide. Aiden Ryan here. There's a high bar here. Colby Klepper set the bar pretty high for what these relief guys got to do tonight. I'd say Akasuka probably won the starter matchup. It's starting to get interesting here as Cassidy Watt down 1-2. That one well struck, though. Left field. Will it carry? No, just down. We were both out of our seats. The nice catch made there out in the outfield by Braxton Hageth. But that one was in that awkward zone, Carlos. That was that dark area a couple guys, mainly Tim Holick, have had trouble with. That was one, even if it didn't go clear the fence, that one had a chance.
He was just under it, and you know what, full credit. That's not an easy play in left field either. I've seen balls drop in here. The lighting gets a little interesting, we'll call it, out along the track at times. But boy, oh boy, that was probably the moment. That was probably the moment for the Red Sox.
Still got a whole inning of work left, and the fact that he could even barrel it up like that, we hadn't seen from Akatsuka in full innings. So, maybe smelling blood in the water if you're this Red Sox offense. That's Ren Takioka back up here again. He's more of a contact, more of a plate discipline focused approach here. He's never really been put in a position where power could make a real difference for him. How far down they've been in his games this season. He now finds himself in an even 1-1 count. If he has any power in that bat, now's the chance to find it.
It's so nice to see pitchers throwing strikes early in at-bats, though. It changes what the game looks like, and the Red Sox ran into it. Connor Irvin ran into it early with some control issues, but, man, it makes a difference. And this game is so enjoyable when it's played the way it's meant to be played, and that's pitchers pitching to contact, fielders making plays, occasional hits getting down, and you end up with a game like this.
That's why I would put the IBL product right up there with any baseball product, because it is that unique approach of baseball. Grassroots isn't just the communities. It is the approach and the fact you really see those little plays. I think one of the biggest things the MLB could work on in that regard is less opportunity for those explosive pieces of athleticism. That one going to be struck back and over our heads. That one will make it a 3-2 full count. But my favorite plays tonight, you got to think, of the ones that resulted in these injuries that became talking points, or the Burdette play, are close little pieces of athleticism where a guy like Cassidy Watt being fast, a guy like Ortega being good at the glove, that is a more interesting, tangible difference than guy's got hit to.
How about
that one struck well and over the head of the first baseman. He kind of hobbles it off as Tommy Wagner Jr., almost like the at first base and third base area. It's guys here on the dirt are hobbling a little bit.
I was going to say,
inconsistencies in the field.
Part of that small ball is Spencer Marcus, a guy who swung the bat pretty good last year, had 5-6 homers for CK, with a stand-up triple. Borderline might have thought about an inside-the-park homer. He delivered the biggest hit of the game. And, he used his speed. And now you're getting that atmosphere. Now you're getting that atmosphere here.
I didn't lie to you folks at home. Ren Takioka's a threat with the BBs, and there's a base on balls right there. He'll make his way to first base. I know we got 2 outs on the ledger, but Lucas Bateman is the guy I would want to see up tonight. Bateman is a guy we talked about who's moved all around the order. He was a bottom-of-the-order guy to start the year. He was just thought of as an athletic defensive second baseman, but he's hitting .333 in this young season. He's got 4 RBIs, and 5 or 6 right now would arguably be the most impactful of this entire Red Sox season. We'll see what he can do here.
Big spot for Aiden Ryan here. Love to see him getting trusted with this.
That one, again, had it horizontally, didn't have it vertically. And this Brantford Red Sox dugout, each one of these taking balls, you'll narrowly see a more excited crowd for plate discipline. But right now, if they can just get runners back on the bags, this could be big. The 1-0. That one is going to find its way inside. I think a lot of the crowd going to take exception to that one. It looks like that strike zone we talked about at Carlos was shrinking. I think it's starting to move a little bit to our right. Camera's left.
Look, it's a long way home for some of these guys. If they got to get home, they got to get home. And you see that over the course of games, especially, a Sunday afternoon game with an out-of-town home plate guy. Sometimes it does open up in the 8th or 9th.
That one is hit. Tracking a little bit, caught some area up there. It's going to come down in the hands of the right fielder. It was looking close. Some speed there out in the field for Ren Takioka. He thought about a maybe 2-bag effort there. But it's caught by Morin. I know he's had a rough day out there with the bat, but Fielding-wise, he's done what's been asked of him. A couple early errors, but they've really reined it in as the Chatham-Kent side.
And look at this, down by the Chatham dugout, Gil Rodon is having an animated conversation with Aiden Ryan. He shook his hand, so his day's done. They're going to give the ninth to somebody else, but there's always teaching moments. He was the pitching coach last year. He pitched in the major leagues with Houston and the White Sox. And Gil Rodon at 72 years old, you know, some guys are playing golf in Florida every day. In Ottawa, we had a manager when I was around the Champions, Hal Lanier. And he'd been basically blackballed from Major League Baseball for 25 years at this point. But in 2015 or whatever, somebody called him up and said, hey, you want to go manage a team, an indie ball team in Ottawa? And he loved it, and he was there every day. And this conversation is still ongoing. Gil Rodon has spent the last 2 minutes talking with Aiden Ryan and company about that outing and about taking it, whatever he just did out there, and applying it down the road. And look, you got to be a special guy to manage. You got to be a special guy to manage a road traveling team in pro baseball. And now in his 70s, Gil Rodon, look at him, he's still out there. He's still managing. They want to close this thing out. And he is locked into this ball game, and man, what a treat it is to see him out here imparting his knowledge with that next generation. Like, how cool is that? You got a guy who pitched at St. Clair College, and he's chatting with a major leaguer, you know? That's his coach.
Well, here we go. The ninth inning here, ladies and gentlemen, of action. We thank you for joining us here in the late stages of this Friday night effort. Those live at Arnold Anderson or those watching at home on YouTube, we thank you for everything you've done in this young season. Hope you've been enjoying the broadcast. We thank Carlos Verde for joining me alongside tonight. You have been an absolute epiphany. You have
been a pleasure.
You have been an awesome voice to have. We hope to see you back. I think you've talked about not consistently the rest of the year, but later in the season.
I'll be back around for sure. I might
some spot appearances.
Might have to try and make my way down on Tuesday to see the Leafs here. That would be a lot of fun. Interesting to see Lucas Bateman, who just flied out to end that last inning. Interesting to see him having more of a role this year. He was very much a backup last season, hit 250 in that role, but this year tasked with a little bit more of an everyday role, and he's been struggling a little bit offensively, down around 150 right now.
That one in on the hands. It's going to be Evan Morrison here taking his cuts once again. Ninth inning. 2 walks, a double, and a ground out. That's the guy you want to see if you're a CK fan watching at home. Straight to the third base line, going to be well fielded.
That's a terrific play by Ortega. In between hop, he's in on the grass looking for a bunt because Chatham has shown that they're willing to do that. So you do that early on. You put a thought in the catcher's head. You put a thought in the manager's head. And what does that do? That then allows a hard hit 2-hopper to third base to be a lower percentage play because you've pulled Ortega in because they're thinking about it. Again, Gil Rodon, just impressive. This team plays the game in an old school way, and man, it's fun to watch.
Going to make a quick correction here. That was Owen Constantinu. Misread the jersey there. This is Evan Morrison up here to bat now. Again, a guy that this is the guy you definitely don't want to see. 2 balls, both or 2 base on balls here, double earlier. Yeah, 1-1-1 up there on the scoreboard. Got a 1-1 count. Late stages here from Morrison, looking at no runners on the bags, but that hasn't mattered in this game.
Oh, that is a good spot. That's it, and my trouble with that call is that that's been there pretty much all night. If your ball is 2/3 over the plate, that's been a strike.
Ninth inning is the worst time to be changing it up. You want these hitters that have come back up 4 times in the order to know what they're getting ready for. You're not loving what you're seeing right now, Carlos.
I just don't get it. You know, I just don't get it. It's like you're flipping a coin.
Here we go, looking at a 3-1 count. Here is Morrison.
And I'm not saying that because of which team is batting. I'm saying especially the starters would feel hard done by. Having to work 5, 6, 7 innings, not knowing if you're getting that call in the outer half, that's tough, man.
Yeah.
And that's why it makes it even more impressive what our man Mizuki Akatsuka did today. I mean, 4 straight outings, 7 innings. He's got to be in the mix for player of the game, you would think.
We can have that chat post-game as that one's going to be fouled off to keep that at-bat alive. Full count here. If there's a moment, the home plate umpire is the main character of the show. It's times like this.
Yeah,
there's a time not to get that call
You don't want it to be
wrong.
the ninth inning. You don't want it to be the ninth inning. And yet, it happens. It's baseball. There's enough games. It's going to happen.
Here it comes. The full count to Morrison. That one struck on, going to go foul.
There's
Third
a couple guys on this Barnstormers team that have had special at-bats tonight. Morin, last time up. Morrison's had a couple great ones. Spencer Marcus has had a couple great ones. Not just the result, but the process.
Here we go, another 3-2. Third pitch on a full count. That one chopped up again, should find its way out. Cassidy Watt's going to try under it. He'll get there. Second out of the top of the ninth. Cassidy Watt has been keeping the feet moving all night. That time, in the most crucial moment possible, tracks it down in probably the worst spot for lighting here at Arnold Anderson Stadium, right behind home plate. It was not easy to track that baseball.
Now, in early June, in the Intercounty League, there's nights that don't feel massive. But if you look at both benches and the regulars in the stands here tonight, there's a lot of people in this building that understand the importance of the next 20, 30 minutes.
Big swing and a miss for strike one.
For a Red Sox team that has missed however many years in a row, 5, 6 years in a row, basically since Chatham came in the league and pushed it to 9.
Yeah.
And a Chatham team that's looking to make that next step.
That one well hit. The center fielder's going to have to make a ranging play on that one. Tracking down, he's got it. Ethan Paulos, another one of those moments, that quick reaction, that initial instinct where to go, made all the difference. Caught up to it well. Ethan Paulos will end the top of the ninth.
New arm coming. Here we go. Let's see who CK is going to turn to for the bottom of the ninth. Oh, this has just been a fantastic ball game. Well played, small ball, some excellent pitching, some great grindy at-bats. And Julia, the in-stadium host here, is getting the crew fired up.
The crowd riled up. Want to take a quick moment here while we have a few before this game comes to its close. We want to thank all of our crew here joining us on the Brantford Red Sox IBL YouTube channel. This stream is a volunteer effort. A lot of great people that make this possible. We want to first of all thank again Carlos Verde sitting to my left for making his debut this season. You've joined us here before, and I hope you joined us here again. Also want to thank my man Brandon sitting to my right, my awesome director. We've had a lot of new stuff installed today. We hope you're enjoying the visual side of the broadcast tonight. I've had to make a lot of graphics, and he's done a great job working them. We have been a great team so far this year, but the rest of my great team, out on the first base line, we thank my cameraman, Mr. Sebastian Jones. Cameraman in the outfield, Mr. Ryan Kennedy, has returned. I think he's done every game so far in this young season. And out in third base, we got a two-man effort. It's Noah Pereira and Neil Montour. We thank our awesome crew here at the Brantford Red Sox IBL, entire team that makes this broadcast possible. And we have had a great show to put on. We hope you've enjoyed it. Well, let's get into it. 3 more outs to go. If you're a CK fan watching at home, you're looking for what I believe it would be a quick 4 and 5 in this young season. And if you're the Brantford Red Sox, you want your second home win of the year, and you want it in a close ball game like this one.
And we're going to get the big righty, the hometown kid for the Barnstormers, Garrett Day on the bump. Great numbers last season, an ERA well under 2 in 18 appearances. He also led the Barnstormers with 5 saves. Not any stuff that's really electric. Only 7 Ks over 21 2/3, but he also limited the hits, and critically, he limited the walks. So, numbers on the year: 2 appearances, 1-0 record, 4.5 earned run average, 1 save, 2 innings, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, and 3 hits. So again, he does pitch to contact. It's not. You're not seeing Davey Mendez coming out of the back of the bullpen. You're not seeing Sano from Barrie coming out of the bullpen throwing 93. But he's effective. So what do we got? 7, 8, 9 here for the Red Sox. That's who it's going to have to be. This is a big game. Both benches are up, and this is a big moment. We thank you for joining us, and what a great night for Intercounty Baseball. Over to you.
Well, Carlos, these are the at-bats for the 7, 8, 9 hitters that can change your entire season, your management's outlook of you as a player. Graham Tebbett coming up here to bat. The right fielder will take his cuts for the 4th time today. That one very hittable. Day put it right down the middle, a little bit high, just so much that Tebbett missed it with the bat, but
lanky, very, very all arms. By the time the ball's released, it's about 54, 55 feet away from home plate. It's kind of a weird delivery.
It'll make it harder for the batters to time up, though. You got to think not a guy you want to face for the first time in the ninth. That one chopped over to second base. The second baseman, pretty easy play, but Tebbett almost legs it out. First out of the day, but Graham Tebbett made the fielders a little bit more pressured than they'd otherwise be on that play. Here comes Schmarter. We talked about his defense. Now let's see his offense. Number 9 has been a great addition to this team. He was added just a few weeks ago, and it is 3 weeks again. One of the great flashy defenders in the IBL. But his offensive moments haven't been there, and the ones he's had, he hasn't executed. This could be big for him.
Yeah, he's had some tough at-bats tonight. Let's see what Day gives him first pitch. I'm going to assume fastball in.
Oh, does he go around? Yes, he does.
Yeah, it was a called strike anyways, down Main Street. Schmarter knew it.
A little bit of movement there towards the end. See what he's got in terms of stuff. I mean, we're so late in the game. Stick to what you know.
It's gonna come in towards the hitter here. You can
That
see
one caught up to. That's going to go foul just off right field. The right fielder almost caught up to it there.
It's all arms, and it comes out, and it's got a little bit of two-seam, a little bit of sink to it, a little bit of run to it. I can totally see how Garrett Day is effective coming out of the back of this bullpen. I mean, just awkward. We haven't seen his breaker yet. I'm sure he's got a slide piece or a split change or something if he's coming out of the back of the bullpen. But, man, super effective fastball early here.
My gut says Schmarter may have timed this one up, so we'll see if he switches up the pitch mix.
There it is.
That one popped up. The wind won't carry it. I think he'll get under it. Bit of miscommunication, but he will make the play. The first baseman, that's Wagner Jr. I think there were about 3 guys that may have wanted custody of that one, but Wagner Jr., the guy that'll finally record the out. And here he comes, bottom of the order, Brody Black. He subbed in, I believe, last inning, struck out in his first appearance. Pinch hitters, very rarely are they the ones that come in and got to finish it off. But let's see what he can do here. Brody Black, you've seen him all season, but you haven't seen him in a moment as big as this. Day against Black.
Oh my, that is a picture-perfect fastball running just in on the Black. Oh.
I don't think we're going to see that second pitch, Carlos. I think he
might not have to.
Yeah, he's got
we saw Schmarter popped up with it, but yeah, I mean, that fastball's working.
The 0-1. That one struck straight to the first baseman, Wagner. What a play. Game over. Chatham-Kent. Didn't talk much about their defense early, but it just capped it off there for them. The Chatham-Kent Barnstormers will take this one 4-3 in Brantford. The first of 3 home efforts in the homestand for the Red Sox. Heartbreaker there, Carlos. 4-3. It doesn't get much closer than that, and I believe they still would have hit them. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You know, you can talk growing pains as much as you want, but the reality is that I believe this is their 4th, maybe even 5th close loss this year. And while it bodes well for the team moving forward, that they're competitive, at a certain point, you gotta start converting. And this was a game that was here for them tonight. Chatham-Kent comes in here, avoids early nerves, manages just 5 hits, but those 5 hits were enough because they manufactured runs. For the Red Sox, they stranded a runner at third a couple times, and you know, it's tough. It's a tough loss. They've got to reset. London's going to be coming in here fired up. I don't know what the result was. They lost. They are losing 3-1 to Barrie presently. So London's going to come in here hot on Sunday. And boy, oh boy, the Brantford Red Sox fall to 1-8, and really not a ton you can say. It was a well-played game from both teams, but man, Mizuki Akatsuka, what an effort from the starter. What an effort.
Alrighty, well, let's, as the kids head out there, as the kids run down the first baseline, awesome to see owner Terry Smith back out there again. And I'm really impressed with him today, with the impact he had on the field, how much he was out there. This really does feel like a whole community environment here in Brantford. And once those close losses start turning into big wins, I think this city is really going to come alive. and I can't wait to see the later steps of this season. The Red Sox should still be in the playoff hunt if they can get at least one win on this homestand. They got 2 chances to do so. Remember, Sunday, that's an afternoon effort, 2 p.m. start time. That's going to be against the London Majors, again, you just talked about. I think outside of Welland, the undefeated team, who Brantford almost had their number. So I don't even know if there's a team you'd rather see less if you're the Brantford home crowd, but they'll see them Sunday at 2 o'clock. Then if Tuesday night's more your deal, if you're more free on the weekdays, come around to the Toronto Maple Leafs rescheduled game from a couple weeks back. That's a team you're much more familiar with. I'm sure you'll be watching that one virtually. And you're not going to be here Tuesday.
I'm not available, but I can try and make myself available. But
Carlos's employer? Consider some flexibility. I'd love to have this guy back out here.
What a great ballpark, man. What a great environment. And as somebody who has followed the Red Sox from afar, written some stories on, team adjacent people for the league, it's look at this. I mean, this is great. Terry Smith's out here. He's trying to do something different. He's trying to re-energize the product, and he's not only excelling, I'd say he's succeeding right out of the gate. And the wins will come for this team. They got a good core, much better than the last couple of years. The only question is when, and will it come soon enough for them to remain relevant in the playoff picture? Because we have seen this team out of the playoff picture quickly the last couple of years. It'd be nice if they were playing meaningful games here in August.
I couldn't have said it better. Carlos, it's been an absolute pleasure today. I hope we'll see you back again in the very near future again. See you about Tuesday, because there's no more logical or knowledgeable Toronto Maple Leafs perspective. I can tell already from one night with you. We hope to see you back, and we hope to see all of you watching at home again for either, both, or one of our 2 homestands in the next 4 days. It's a great season of IBL baseball all around the league, and this Brantford offense, say what you will, they're creating interesting moments, interesting games, and we all think, and I hope you do watch it at home as well, that a couple of them will start turning around here soon. For a 4-3 loss, the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers will take this one. They'll head off back down the 403 towards Hamilton, where the All-Star game is going to be taking place in just a couple weeks. Check that one out on social media. Go see the details. That one will be in Hamilton, Ontario in just a few weeks' time. Always a fun opportunity. See some Red Sox. See some of the best hitters from all around the league. See some of those electric Welland Jackfish hitters that guys like Robert Mullen are taking off right now. So if you want to see some great hitting, check out the All-Star game in a few weeks' time. For Carlos Verde, our entire awesome crew, for Brandon, our director, we thank you for watching the Brantford Red Sox live tonight on June 6th against the Chatham-Kent Barnstormers. We'll see you in 2 nights' time, 2 p.m. on Sunday. That'll be against the London Majors, and I've been Marshall Crocker. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Everybody get home safe here live, and everybody have a great weekend at home.